Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Tom Bilyeu Show Live. We are here. There is plenty going on in the world. I'm very interested to see that poll and to see what you guys want to talk about. I like that. We're going to have to do that more. Drew with me as always. How we doing, Drew?
Good. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday indeed. We got Mason in the community, so let him know what you guys want to talk about. He'll make sure that that gets surfaced and we get in on it. We got the boys behind the scenes. Always grateful to have them. We've got Eric and G rocking it today, so they're going to make sure that we don't have any crazy volume swings. They're going to make sure that everything is ready to rock and roll. So welcome, guys. The U.S. has seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela, and it will be keeping the oil and the tanker. NATO general says that Europe needs to be prepared for World War II levels of war. The Fed cut rates, despite inflation being 50% above target, and we're going to discuss the real reason for what I consider a maniac move. Home prices go negative for the first time in 2 years. Fantastic. But we'll see if the underlying causes of that are good or bad. The Trump-backed bill to get health savings accounts set up for Americans got shot down. I'm mortified. ChatGPT 5.2 drops, and at the same time, Elon and Bukele are deploying AI at the nation-state level. Get used to that level of saturation that is coming everywhere all at once, so get ready for that. Rand Paul is pushing for an audit of the Fed. Thank the Lord. And Erica Kirk and Candace Owens beef is escalating as Erica is now addressing the accusations directly. The greatest show on television, Drew, is the Candace Owens like madness. It's so interesting. I actually watch very little of it, but I find myself talking about it off camera a lot. I do want people to recognize that a new form of entertainment is coming into being, and that's
been like swirling in my head since you said that
so
too.
Wild.
I'm like, I understand the lore. People want to see what's happening. People want to say what's happening.
And there are real world consequences.
Yeah, Darius in the chat was like, breaking news: Candace just got some evidence that she's never going to release. And there's like, I was like, that's the intro of every show. It's like, okay, guys, I found it, I got it, and you're like, okay, this is going to be the episode. And you're 7 episodes deep and realize I don't know anything about except Egyptian plane numbers and a flag. Like it's, I don't know. It's interesting. It's weird.
It is certainly fascinating.
Somebody just in the chat was like, let me know when we're talking about Candace. We're going to talk about it right now. We're jumping right into it. I think now it's relevant though, because Erica Kirk finally responded. And just as a husband, I know if your wife was getting attacked, I love Lisa to death, but she's a little bit of a lion. Like, she's not going to just be like, okay, I'm sorry, guys, let me go cry in the corner. Like, I feel like she will be fiery and fight back as well.
Yeah.
Do you think that, like, Erica's being villainized for that? Should she be quiet? Like, what's your take on her exposure and things like that?
Well, so there's 2 ways to answer that. There is, girl, like, you got to be true to you, right? So you could see her friends saying, you need to say whatever it is that you believe, and you've got to represent yourself in an honest way. I would be advising Lisa, and have 1,000 times, I want you to ask yourself one question. What is your goal? Once you know what your goal is, then we can build a plan that will actually get you to your goal. Now, the very bad news, when somebody starts getting into the emotional beef of it all, usually they have an invisible goal. And the invisible goal is that they want to feel that justice is served, or that they've protected their, in this case, her husband's honor. And so they will do things that are emotionally satisfying that don't necessarily lead you to what would be your actual stated goal. Like, her stated goal might be something like, I want to make sure that Charlie's legacy lives on in Turning Point USA, and that conservative voices for young people get heard, right? That might be the official goal. But then she gets drug into the dirt and the mire of it all by going off in a far more emotional way towards the allegations. It devolves into Candace is a bad person, right? And so you can get drug into the mud. Now, admittedly, one of the things that I think made Charlie so effective was that he would throw down with people, and he would go emotional on stage. And if people wanted to go low, he would go low. So he now look, he had a certain level of decorum that also kept him from being too mired in the mud. But it was very interesting to see him, like, he was a man of the internet. He grew up on the internet. He knew what it meant to be in like an Xbox lobby and, just have people like swinging at each other ad hominem. It was certainly not foreign territory for him. So that's certainly part of what makes all of this complex. We're just in a totally different time, and expecting her to act completely presidential just isn't the moment. And so I think there's going to be some of that. But really, like in life now as a PSA, getting people to understand you can't trust your emotions. Absolutely. Like one of the most important rules in business is never do what's emotionally satisfying. Like the number of times that I get to do what I actually feel is almost zero, because I have a stated goal. I know what my goal is. And the emotional thing will usually cause some sort of emotional chaos, because if you trigger the other person emotionally, then they start pulling to invisible goals. They start going like in crazy directions. You find yourself debating something that isn't even really the real thing. All of your energy is leaking over into this thing that is not generating forward momentum towards your actual goal. And so I just learned very early on, doing the emotionally satisfying thing does not generate momentum. It is not concrete steps towards a goal. And that's what I need to be if I'm serious about actually achieving my goal. The reality is most people are not serious about achieving their goals. The only thing that they steer by is what feels emotionally correct in the moment. So literally, that is the conversation I would have with Lisa in moments like this. Have had that conversation with Lisa 100 times, at least. Because she is very fiery. She is not afraid to stand up for herself. And because she felt really bullied as a kid, as she developed her voice, she was just like, I'm never going to feel like that again. And it can make her overly aggressive, in my opinion.
Is this like a Streisand effect thing though, where Erica Kirk shouldn't have addressed it? She should have left it go and then hopefully it dies out? Or at some point you have to kind of address it?
I think you have to address it. You can try to let certain things go, but Candace she's one of the biggest personalities on the internet. And so to pretend like that's just going to go away is rough. It certainly won't go away fast. Now, Candace is either racing towards becoming the queen of the internet or being the world's most tragic cautionary tale. Like there's not going to be an in-between here, because this either goes where the French government backs off and it's like she's now standing as queen of the hill, or the French government takes her down and everyone's like, yo. So I don't see the one where it just sort of peters out and people are like, no, they're still right, meaning the French government, and other people are like, no, Candace is right. I think it's if they drop the lawsuit or Candace wins, that's a Candace victory. She's queen of the internet. If they push it all the way, they bankrupt Candace, this escalates into a whole bunch of people seeing her now as being weak, and they start going after her for a whole bunch of other things. Like you can imagine a universe where if the French government pushes it all the way, they win. Then you get Turning Point USA going, she's made all kinds of crazy accusations about us, and then they push her into years more of litigation. Like that could get rough very, very fast. Now, I don't know all the specifics about what's his face? Oh God, the king of conspiracy.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones, thank you. But I know with $1 billion judgment against you, you're getting your wages garnished. So I don't know how he has continued to run his business. I just don't know the logistics of how that kind of thing operates, where they clearly would be garnishing his personal wages, but he can probably create separation with the company. So she might be able to do something like that, because I don't think she's going to diminish. There is a certain type of person that loves that conspiratorial, sips tea, she knows that you're drawing conclusions in your head. She knows that's why it works, and she phrases it in the way that she phrases it because she's a marketing genius. Like once you understand, she does not speak accidentally. She completely understands the way, largely, I think this is a female phenomenon. She understands the way the female brain is drinking in the world, the way that it wants to engage with like conspiracy, relational, there's a great book called A Billion Wicked Thoughts that says the right way to understand the female brain as a detective agency. And the female brain is constantly trying to assess threat, who's a friend, who's a foe, operating behind the scenes instead of just out in open conflict. And so the way that she presents this information is like that. We're all one big community. You guys are helping me solve this like grand conspiracy. You always have to be conscious of what's coming around the corner. Everything is like a tease and a payoff in the next episode. It's just like, it's really brilliantly structured. But anyway, I don't think she's going to disappear, because I think that new form of entertainment is going to be incredibly popular. I think that She will continue to be popular, though she may become more fringe if she gets like absolutely hammered for the same reason that Alex Jones has not disappeared. So we'll see. But it is, if I were advising her, I would say, listen, you're an extraordinary marketer. You're an incredible online personality. Rein it in a bit to give yourself exit ramps so that if you see like, okay, this one's not going to pan out, like you can move on to the next. But she is just taking a totally different strategy that will be very interesting to see play out.
Okay, so we have that on the table. Candace Owens actively being sued by the French government. Candace Owens potentially being sued by TPUSA. Everybody's looking forward to the 15th.
I'm making that one up, by the way. I want to make sure I'm not saying that's already happening. I'm just saying.
What's already happening?
I don't think Turning Point USA is suing Candace at this
point. No. They're having, they're like, we're responding to all the claims, live stream thing. So we're all eyes on that to kind of figure out what's going on. On the other side of the Manosphere podcast space, Dan Crenshaw is now suing Sean Ryan for allegations he made on his show. I want to tie these two together, but this is directly from Sean on his show announcing that he's been sued.
All of you who've supported this show and made it what it is today. On December 9th, 2025, I received a legal demand letter from lawyers representing Congressman Dan Crenshaw. They are threatening to sue me for defamation because of comments I made on my podcast about a message that he sent me. They want me to remove content, issue a public apology, and stop talking about him. I'm not going to do any of that. Let me give you full context so you can judge for yourself. What I originally said a while back, I commented on my show about Congressman Crenshaw throwing an extremely expensive party and the fact that he seems to have become quite wealthy during his time in Congress. I raised questions about how a congressman making
That flyer is wild. That flyer is wild. Yo, I did it on 2X the first time I watched this. I didn't pause it. Yo, he got a club flyer. That's a congressman. Yo, this is crazy. This is an Atlanta party. Tom.
Dude,
Tom,
okay, hold on. Think about this. This will really get you.
I didn't even see the flyer.
Have you seen the Gen Z like influencers, like the people with podcasts and stuff?
Yeah.
They talk like Gen Zers. Like they're not kidding. That's how they talk. So he grew up in that era, and so yeah, that doesn't seem weird to him at all. He had, if I'm not mistaken, Steve Aoki DJ'd his party. So
okay, I'm not. I know we don't name drop here. Steve Aoki is like your boy. He's in the ecosystem of.
We are very friendly.
Dan Crenshaw makes around $170,000 a year. I feel like Steve Aoki might be a little bit more expensive than that. Being he had a residency in Vegas, alas, like Steve Aoki is cool, but I don't think he'll just like, yeah, Tom, I'll DJ your party for 3 hours for you, no problem. Like I feel
He's
like
certainly not going to do it for free. Here,
okay. You know what I mean? So
I do, and this will be interesting to see people's reaction to. So here, the fact that Congress people get rich off of insider information is a level of despicable that I cannot even begin to convey. Mm-hmm. The economic game is rigged against the average person to a point they should be furious and enacting change immediately. This is like the heartbeat of my interactions with the public, is trying to get them to understand the economic game is rigged against you knowingly. Mm-hmm. You can still win though, so figure it out. But what drives me crazy about the way that people look at this kind of situation is, hey, this guy only makes $170,000 a year. How's he able to afford this? What I want them to figure out is, just like whatever person, hey, you only make, whatever person watching this, you only make $60,000 a year. You only make $95,000 a year, whatever. You're going to make your real money in fucking assets. So I'm not mad that Dan Crenshaw owns assets. I think everybody in Congress should own like a default basket of assets that they cannot change once they're in office. And so it's like, I'm going to hold a basket, international or America, whatever, and I'm not going to trade. It's going to be index funds, and I'm sure there's a more nuanced position to be had. So just consider this like a swag. Yeah. But I'm going to hold a basket of index funds that are not actively traded, and I'm going to go do what I think is right for the American people. And hopefully that has a positive fucking effect on the the markets. Like, you want a positive effect on the markets. It's the only way to escape inflation. So it's like the fact that these guys are in the stock market, good. The fact that they are doing it in a way that is insider information is a catastrophe. But people lump it all into, can you believe this motherfucker only makes $170,000 and you can afford all this? What I want people to understand, if you win the game of the fucking markets, your $170,000 doesn't really matter. It's how much you're making in the markets. Right now, because the system is so rigged against people, making money off a salary? Get out. They're going to take all of that money back through inflation. You have to own assets. I wish that were not true because there's risk in assets. I wish it weren't true because I consider it morally repugnant. It is gambling. But the government has put you in a position right now today where you must own assets or you're going to get soaked. And so when people get emotional, they tend to just, the whole idea of the reduction of number of crayons, and you only have 2 colors to color with. And so you're like, market's bad. Anybody in markets is cheating. That's not true. And if you are if you're not in the market, you're getting soaked. So yes, we should want these guys to be limited in the way that they can interact with the markets because it is way too easy to manipulate. But you should want them in the markets. You should want them doing things where they're tied to your success. And if we can get them tied to your success, okay, now we're in a good spot.
We have a famous saying here. I feel like we should have like a wall of saying. Maybe that's what we figure it out. We were talking about that yesterday. Show me the incentives, I'll show you the outcomes, right?
Yes.
If you're a good politician,
I'm
using that word purposely.
Like in the Machiavellian sense, or you're an honorable politician?
In the Machiavellian sense.
Okay.
You walk in with one tax bracket, you
Yeah.
leave at least 2 tax bracket above.
At least.
Obama went in broke, he came out rich. Pelosi went in broke, came out rich. Dick Cheney went in broke, came out rich. George Bush, whose dad was president, he was already rich, he got richer. So it's Donald Trump allegedly through the crypto scheme is up like $3 billion at this point right now. And he came in January and he's up $3 billion. So it's one of those things where clearly politicians are making money in this game and it's not the salary that's doing it.
No.
I don't know if it's kickbacks. I don't know if it's. So do you think that if we were to be honorable as opposed to quote unquote good and remove money from politics, remove it, would that save the system because all the grifters, the people that want to get rich will then go to another game?
It would help a lot.
Yeah.
It would help a lot. Like the more doors that you can shut for corruption to be easy, the better off you are going to be. The more that you're going to attract people who really believe in what they're trying to do, because there is only structural upside. Meaning you want politicians to go into politics to make their country wealthier. That's what you want them to do. People do not understand they are economic units. Once people start thinking of themselves, oh, I'm an economic unit, that's actually how the world works. And it works that way, not because men are evil. It works that way because people don't want to have to hunt every day to stay alive. And once you understand, oh, I want this stuff to get easier. Oh, I want people to specialize. Therefore, I am going to become an economic unit. Great. So now we embrace that. But the way that you structure it is going to matter so much. And if a politician goes in and can get wealthy, but their wealth is tied directly to the wealth of the people in their country, yay! Like that's the kind of thing that you want to see. We don't do that, and we make it very possible for them to get wealthy in 1,000 ways that is not tied to their constituents, is not tied to the nation as a whole. And that's where things get deeply problematic. And all of human history is the elites getting wealthy off the back of the masses. And the reason it's like that, unfortunately, has a lot to do with intellect, connections, and the ability to use. When you've got the 128 crayon box and you're going up against people with the 8 crayon box, so fucking easy. It's so easy. Drew, you just like, you make drawings that they can't even comprehend. And you just like, I got you. I got so many more crayons. Don't worry about it. And people inevitably fall to the iron law of oligarchy, which is that there's a certain type of person that's smart enough to lead and that is from where I'm sitting crazy enough to want to lead, because nothing about that looks fun to me. But nonetheless, and so organizations, no matter what they are, a PTA, a nation, a family, they will all fall to there's leaders and there's followers. Just no other way around it. So you've got to limit the ways that the leaders can get rich at the expense of everybody else.
So we do have a couple points of disagreement in the chat on the owning assets portion.
Oh, here we go.
First, you're not even making money with assets. You're just holding the value as they inflate the supply.
What? You're not even stopping bullets with a bulletproof vest. You're just absorbing the impact without dying. Okay, great. Would you like to get shot with or without the bulletproof vest? That is, God bless you, but that's a terrible fucking argument.
I just want to shout out Jay Welk real quick. I said it in the chat, but he was like, I lowered my expenses so I could start investing, even though I make $40K a year. And I'm not trying to shout out your income level or nothing like that, but the fact that you're saying, hey, let me just make a little changes here so that way I can invest more on this side.
Yes, please.
That's the first step to being financially independent. So shout out to you. Congratulations.
No doubt.
All the roses, all the flowers. We need more of that, less of it's their fault. It's their fault. I can't. Way to get to it. Shout out to you.
True.
Okay, quick yes or no. Or yes, no, I'll give you like 2 or 3 sentences. I feel the type of way that everybody's suing each other. I feel like lawfare is now becoming petty. It's now becoming, I don't like what you said about me on your little show, so now I'm gonna sue you.
Yeah. America is so litigious. It is ridiculous. And I don't know how to beat that out of us culturally. But that's just what we do. We sue people for things. The number of times that I've either been in a lawsuit or have had a chance to sue someone else is ridiculous. And I am not proactive in terms of going after people, but that is basically the default stance. It is a tool in people's arsenal that they use all the time. It's miserable. It's expensive. Only the lawyers win. I once sat across from a retired judge who was doing arbitration, and he said, and I quote, Mr. Bilyeu, I'm going to be very honest with you. You are being legally extorted right now, but you have to deal with this. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, I felt seen, I won't lie, but it was still like, you have to go through the process. Like, it was wild. So, welcome to America.
Sheesh.
And that would have to change culturally.
Yeah. I mean, the Constitution was argued in a courtroom, so I do feel like it's something that's built in the grain.
I'm not saying courtrooms are bad. You need courtrooms.
No, but I mean, like the integration of I am vying for justice through a litigious sense, I would say, like lawyer-esque. Like they weren't in a classroom trying to like come up with it from a philosophical level. They were battling it out and letting somebody rule who was right, who was wrong.
Sort of. There was a lot of philosophical debate, and I think they would be scandalized by the level of lawsuits that we have now, though they did actually do duels, so they had their own lunacy. But yeah, I don't think that they would have anticipated the level that this would escalate to. This is a problem with policies. This is why Ray Dalio's rich. Is what he realized is debt's awesome in the beginning, becomes terrible in the end. And it has like all these really predictable things because humans can't do a fire break and say a little bit of something is awesome, a lot of it is terrible. For instance, I love salt. And so when I did this really brief stint is like, I'm going to get good at cooking. I just like added a ton of salt and I was like, these all suck. And so I was like, that's so interesting. Like a little bit of this thing is wonderful, but if you try to just keep adding more, it becomes a problem. So debt is awesome in the beginning. When you rack up debt, it becomes literally economically suicidal. So, but people can't stop themselves. So same thing, court's great, little bit, but over time, it's just gonna escalate. Same thing with welfare programs. In the beginning, they're great because they take care of the people that actually need it. And then you get Somalia moving to America to fucking bilk billions of dollars. People are now saying not just tied to Somalians, but that there's an estimated $500 billion of annual fraud in the welfare system. So in entitlements. Dude, 500 billion? That is so much. That's enough for, I think roughly it would allow 90% of taxpayers to not pay anything. Just to give you an idea of what $500 billion
if that number is correct, and I don't think it is.
But like,
yes, that is.
But do you think the number is zero?
I don't think the number is zero because in like misguided incentives.
So now ask yourself, if you know the number isn't zero,
It's somewhere between 0 and 500 billion.
Yeah, but bear with me. What I'm trying to get to is once people realize, oh, there's a way to defraud this, they will defraud it until they reach sufficient pushback that they are forced to stop. What I think people think happens is that all people will be as morally repulsed as they are, and therefore won't just keep taking and taking and taking and taking. But you actually have to meet it with force. Otherwise, it will just keep going. And so what I'm saying is welfare, yay, I get why we have it. But the problem is it will, by its nature, escalate. And so the question becomes, as a society, how do you interrupt the escalatory process? Because we're not good at that. We haven't been able to do it with debt ever. And I don't just mean America. I mean, every civilization ever uses debt in the beginning. It's like, oh my God, this is like magic, like literal magic. You can't believe how well it works. So much prosperity. It's incredible. Everybody born in that era is fucking ecstatic because it works so well. And then people go, well, we're not getting the growth that we used to. But we know that debt works, and it's just like cocaine, heroin, fentanyl. Like the little bit that used to get you high doesn't get you high anymore. And then all of a sudden, you've got to be doing enough of it, like just to stay even keel, not even just to feel like that same euphoric feeling that you had before, just to be at like break even. And then you start doing it so much, you're fucking giving blowjobs behind Denny's. Dude, it's like that is the cycle. And people just are not being honest that you need something that breaks that escalatory cycle. And if you don't have it, it just flywheels out of control.
I found out Andrew Jackson's last words was, I took on the banks and I won, because he was the last president to stop the Fed before the next president came and then started the Fed.
And the Fed was like, wah! Like, you're going to be gone, and we're just going to keep going.
They tried
1913.
They tried it three times, and then in 1913, they changed it to Federal Reserve Bank, and that was the one. Everybody was like, oh, okay, it's federal. It's by the government.
And it's a reserve.
It's like, yeah, exactly.
Great.
And that's what they did to, like, get that.
Yeah. Hey, can I just make everybody mad really fast?
Let's do it.
Did you guys know that banks get paid like 4.5% to 5.5% to loan their money that was created out of thin air by the Fed back to the Fed? So while you guys are struggling to make ends meet, the banks are getting paid to not loan you money. That is wild. But we're just like, okay. And in fact, we're not okay. No one understands it. So people don't know what's happening.
I'm excited about Tuesday's episode to Arthur Laffer, because he was the first one to say that money is broken because that's the first government institution. That's the first institution government went in and like broke. And I didn't realize before the Fed, like local banks used to loan money, and we like the structure was working. Of course, it was a different lifestyle and stuff like that. They weren't on Instagram or nothing, but it's like there is a way that independent people were generating money. There were all these different mints. Like currency can.
Do you know
be
why
done
the
by
dollar's called the dollar?
No,
There was a guy, I think in Spain, whose name was like the Lar. I forget his actual name, but it was a variant of dollar. And he was just the guy that everybody trusted. He was printing money. And he was just like, no, mine's legit. I never like mess with the weights of the coins, because that's like a big thing. This is why your coins have little ridges around the edges, so you can see if people are like skimming off the circle to make it smaller and lighter. And so he was just so religious and so honorable and so trustworthy that became the currency that everybody used. And people think that money is made by the government because all of us grow up in an era and we just assume that's how the world is forever and all time. And it's not. It's not. Many things have come before this. We didn't have we had a brief Federal Reserve at the founding of our country, but we put a 20-year time limit on it because we knew it would be abused. Speaking of breaking the escalatory cycle, they just said, you got 20 years. Whatever you can get done to build this country up, you've got 20 years to do it. After that, nope, hard pass. So we ended it. And then, of course, by 1913, the bankers just knew how potent it would be if they could get this thing through. Watch my video on the creature from Jekyll Island. I go into all this stuff, the secrecy of it, the way that they manipulated the public. It's devastating.
Somebody said Tom should do a master class on monetary policy. Those are the deep dives that come out on Mondays. Go check them out.
Not always about economics, but yes. And the wild thing is, this is just a guy learning this stuff. Like I am an entrepreneur. That's what I do. Entrepreneurs know how to make money. I didn't know how to invest money. And so anyway, the community knows the story, but anybody can learn this stuff. Like you don't need to be an economist or anything like that. Watch me with Arthur Laffer. You guys can make up your own mind. I'm just a fucking entrepreneur who was like, wait, I think COVID is going to demolish my former employees because they don't know how to manage their money. I did not think this was going to be some insane rabbit hole. I'm just trying to help them literally like balance a checkbook. That was the kind of thing I was thinking in the beginning. It was like, they need to understand like basic investing. And then I was like, if I'm going to tell them about basic investing, I better figure it out because I don't know how to invest my own money. And then going down that rabbit hole, you start going, if you're actually trying to think from first principles, you just keep asking, why is it like that? Why is it like that? Why is it like that? All the way down until you're at the physics of how something works. And that's what this is. So I hope that people don't look at me as some sort of scholar. I'm just a guy saying, wait a second, there's way too much money in this. Okay, period. New paragraph, but very related. I routinely am debating, like, do I just go full-time into the video game thing? Because I love it so much, Drew. And
I'm starting to get jealous. I realize that.
Yeah. Yes. I have a side chick, Drew. She is hot. So
I'll be bouncing at his desk, looking over at I'm like, hey, we got to prepare for the show tomorrow. Okay, yeah, cool. Hey, what are you working out over there?
That is literally true. This is what happened last night. Okay, so I have that debate a lot. And then I realize I can't stop learning about it because now that I know how much money I can make investing, just like, I can't ever stop. It would be irresponsible. Literally, I am so scandalized that I went 42 years or whatever without knowing how money actually works. I'm like, whoa, my wife should be very angry. But now that I know how it works and feel like no one should assume that I won't make catastrophic mistakes in investing. I will. And as the island of my knowledge grows, so grows the shore of my ignorance. But seeing now just how much money just in 2025 alone I've made by understanding like the basics. That's why I'm so evangelical about getting people to understand. Like if you just throw the baby out with the bathwater with the Dan Crenshaw thing, it's very possible that he's entirely corrupt. I don't know. But the reality is you don't want to be mad at anybody in the stock market. You want to get into the stock market. That is the right takeaway.
Yeah. Okie dokie Sophie said I would love a deep dive on assets. Check out one. We'd have a clip
I've done a ton
about Lynn Alden's strategy. A deep dive Tom did that compared Lynn's versus Ray Dalio's versus his own kind of spin on it. So yes, definitely some stuff on the channel. We should make like an investing playlist. Give me a couple days,
that is actually
guys.
a good idea.
I got you.
Michael just asked, Project Kaizen merch, are there shirts? There are, but we sold out. We're going to do another run of it. I have a really strong rule when it comes to Kaizen because I was doing the exact opposite at the very beginning, which is if people are playing the game, then I'll go ham on building all the ancillary stuff, which would make me beyond happy. But if people aren't playing the game, I just need to focus. Make the game awesome. Make the game awesome. I have 23 months left before we hit early release. I've got to make every fucking second count. The game is getting good, but if you played it right now, you'd be very disappointed. So it's like, I know that 23 months is enough time. Oh, it's a race. So we got to make it awesome. Anyway, we're going to be doing some early access, like pre-alpha access stuff. So if anybody's interested in the community, please let yourself be known in the Discord so that we can get you the game probably at the end of Q1 is what I'm expecting. It'll still be super awkward, but we'd love to get people's feedback.
Can we throw a Discord link in there? Okay, thank you everybody for super chats. We're going to get to at the bottom of the hour. Right now, though, we're going to our title story today. NATO Chief Root warns we need to be ready. Russia has brought war back to Europe, and we must be prepared for the scale of war our grandparents and great-grandparents endured. I don't know what's going on lately, but a lot of these politicians keep talking about World War I and World War II. It was China and Japan, like, hey, you just lost World War II. You need to be humble. And then now NATO is saying we need to get ready because Russia's bringing it to Europe. Again, I don't know if this is something in the water right now, but I feel like tensions are bubbling internationally in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. So here is the thing that makes me sad, and I don't know what to do with this. Even you and you are both like, yeah, we cover a lot of doom and gloom. And chat accused that you guys caught strays before we went live. about you guys being quote unquote into the doom and gloom, it makes me very sad that people call this doom and gloom. This is human nature playing out, and we are living in a moment where this stuff matters, and it matters a lot. So I am merely trying to point myself at the things that matter so that I can be prepared, so I can deal with whatever happens, because the world right now is not a very stable place. And so being aware of this stuff, I don't want to over-index on being afraid or anything like that. In fact, I don't spend any of my time being afraid. I spend all of my time trying to think execution. What's my goal? How do I get where I want to be? So yes, we cover this stuff not to scare you, not to spook anybody out, but the human mind operates under algorithmic principles. So we respond to certain stimuli in the same way over and over and over. And this is why history rhymes. So people need to be aware that for whatever reason, Europe does not appear to be doing the things that they would need to do to back away from this standoff with Russia. Now, maybe they legitimately are just afraid, and so their fear is causing this aggressive posture. Maybe that really is it. And so they see Russia on the march. They've got enough cultural scar tissue that they know when Russia starts making a move that they'll gobble up, all of the USSR post-World War II. That was not a good time for a whole lot of countries that we think of now as European. And so I can understand why, the Berlin Wall doesn't fall until like 89. So I get why Europe is going to be really paranoid. But all of us, when we hear statements like that, it's pay attention time. Mm-hmm. That is like, hey, we are giving you official messaging. Doesn't mean that they're going to pop off. Doesn't mean that they're going to go in guns blazing. But it does mean that their posture is, we need to get ready. We do not trust that he's going to stop. We are going to be arming up. We are trying to psychologically terraform our population to be prepared to go to war. It's wild. Now, at the same time, America's stuck in Thucydides' trap. So I have a very similar feeling, which is that, guys, 12 out of the last 16 times that world history has found itself in the situation we're in now, where a declining superpower hits a rising superpower, they've gone to war. So it's like the odds are not in our favor. And hopefully part of the reason that you talk about it is so you can find the path to de-escalation, that you can put yourself into the 4 people that did not end up going to war so that you figure out what that looks like. That's my goal anyway. So it all manifests in supply chains and policy decisions that we need to make in order to make sure that we actually are prepared. I say all of that to say, don't look at this stuff as doom and gloom ever. That won't serve you, because that puts people in this mindset of like fear. Nope. We want to be, I don't want to use the word aggressive. We want to be aggressively prepared. We want to think through the scenarios. We want to say, where exactly do we want to end up? Be very honest about all the pieces that are on the board, and then move like an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurs they live and die by the market. They either can or can't make payroll. And that is so clarifying. And so all of a sudden you just go, I can't lie to myself about the situation that I'm in. We are where we are. I have to figure out what matters. I have to be thinking from cause and effect. And I look at, okay, I'm trying to get here. There's 1,000 ways that this could go wrong. There's only a small handful where we actually get there. You have to understand your points of leverage. You have to understand the things you care about versus the things you can give away as a chip or whatever. And as you think about it and strategize and be ready and be paranoid, in business, we always say only the paranoid survive. And so, yes, I do, because these are the things that I'm actively thinking about. We talk about all this stuff, but it makes me very sad that people want to dismiss it as either, oh, this is doom and gloom, or because I'm talking about it, they think that I'm inviting them into a world of fear. And I get that response a lot. Like I get a lot of people that are like, Tom, you're scaring the life out of me. And I'm like, that's not my intention. My intention is to make you prepared. My intention is for you to understand that, yeah, there are going to be periods where the world is unstable, and that's perfectly fine. You will be able to weather that storm if you're prepared. But if you want to be Pollyanna-ish, if you want to bury your head in the sand because you're afraid of like one of the accusations that'll be levered against somebody like Peter Schiff. Mm-hmm. Peter Schiff is called 20 of the last 2 recessions. Fair, I get what people are saying, but if you look at the way that Peter actually invests, he's wealthy. So in all of his paranoia, he's made himself wealthy. And so I'm really trying to build a way to articulate to people that, listen, I'm going to be talking about AI and how it's going to do all this crazy stuff. But if you start acting like it's already done it today, you're going to miss opportunities. So like AI is almost certainly a bubble, but pulling out of the market is also almost certainly the wrong answer, unless you're like Warren Buffett and you're reading, 100 prospectuses a day. It's like, if you're doing that, great. Yes, you can probably dip out and get back in at a sensible point and have enough capital to recognize when something's a deal and all that. For the rest of us, that's not going to be the play. The play is, we're going into a period where the market could be down for, let's say, 10 years. Okay, I'm facing something where the market could be down for a very long time. So how do I want to do that? And it starts to become the real simple, basic building blocks of, I'm going to dollar cost average in because I don't know where this is going. I need to have a certain amount that I can access very quickly, call that cash or cash-like instruments. But also you need to beat inflation. And so if inflation is 3% right now on the back of 25%, but anyway, I won't start down that path. But if inflation is 3% right now, then you've got to have your money both readily accessible and turning over at least 3% in interest. And so it's like, I'm not saying like, hey, you got to go get rich. And so go way out on the curve and buy like shit coins and Pokemon cards. Like, that's not my pitch. I get that my pitch is probably very boring, but I want people to start thinking through the problem, to be paranoid, not so that they can freak out or give their kids anxiety. I want you to go, I understand how this works mechanistically. I understand how money moves. I understand how humans move from a psychology standpoint. And therefore, I'm going to make different decisions with massive amounts of humility because the future is so unknown. And I'm going to position myself so that I can do well enough no matter what happens. The people that got obliterated by 2008, the people that got obliterated by the Great Depression, the crash in 29, were people that were convinced they couldn't lose. Those are the people that lose. Listen, Michael Saylor may prove to be the king of the world. That is entirely possible. But there are so many timelines, Drew, where he goes bust. And I'm just like, I personally am never willing to bet that I'm on the timeline where it just all works out. And so I'm always trying to hedge my bets. That's where I want people to be proactive, to feel like they understand what's going on well enough to make decisions. That's the ultimate goal here. I am talking into the camera so that people will feel armed to make decisions that will put them in a better situation so that they understand how all of this game is played and they can play it well. Instead of, like, I'm not trying to get people to panic. I'm not even trying to get you to click. I'm trying to get you to actually change your behavior in a way that will protect you. So anyway, I hope that we can get that vibe in the community that these are the things that we ought to be paying attention to because they will have the most economic impact. That really is like the core driver. They'll have the most economic impact. And because their impact is knowable-ish, that by talking about it, you can build a plan.
Chat says if you want people to see the message differently, talk about it exactly like you are right now. So they really appreciated that.
There we go.
Boom. All right, let's jump into the NATO chief's remarks.
We need to be ready because at the end of this first quarter of the 21st century, conflicts are no longer fought at arm's length. Conflict is at our door. Russia has brought war back to Europe, and we must be prepared for the scale of war our grandparents and great-grandparents endured. Imagine
so escalatory from where we are.
Can you just speed run us? How did we get here? Because I'm not a student of history. Like, World War I was in Europe, and then World War II was when America got involved?
We got involved in both. Both times we came in very late, and both times we walked away unscathed. And so World War I started moving us in the direction of being the greatest superpower on Earth, and then World War II really sealed the deal. So the speed run of that may not be as relevant to the speed run of like what's actually happening now with Russia. So you've got Russia, a country run by a dictator who does not have to so much please his voters. I mean, ultimately you want the populace behind you, but he doesn't have to get reelected. Yeah. He's a former member of the KGB. So this is somebody who certainly understands propaganda, who understands subterfuge, who knows how to do things under the cloak of night. This is not somebody who is sort of morally high-minded. This is somebody who understands the game of power and will do whatever it takes, including poisoning his enemies, blowing up the plane of that guy whose name I forget. Just do it all. And I mean, listen, we got Trump drone striking, so I'm not saying anybody's above killing is super efficient. So he has said publicly, I think the dissolution of the USSR was like this great tragedy. Okay, so this is a guy that believed we were much better off. Certainly we, the Russian people, were much better off when we had far more territory. He also understands that Ukraine is resource rich, and he also understands that any country will expand until they hit sufficient force or internal value violations. So we view ourselves a certain way, and so we don't want people doing something that we think is opposed to our values, and so we'll internally put the brakes on. But if you don't trigger the internal value system problem, they will literally take over the entire world. Somebody has to stop them. That's basically everybody. Estonia will eventually do it if they feel that there's a vacuum of power and they're like, whoa, are we really the ones? I guess we're the ones. And, they'll do it. So that's something that Putin understands very well. So he sees a weakening of the US's will to back NATO. And so he's like, fuck it. Now's the time for us to go back and start gobbling up these regions. He doesn't start with Ukraine. That's just the one that, for whatever reason, people really got tweaked out about. So I imagine there's some resource there that we feel very strongly that we don't want getting into his hands, or maybe it just became too much.
Too close to.
So anyway, the US and NATO should not have kept pushing up against Russian borders because it gave him a cover story. Now, I don't know whether it's just a cover story and he just always wanted to do this. And he was like, oh, perfect. This gives me the excuse that I need to be aggressive. Or if it was actually the thing where he's like, hey, how many fucking times do I have to tell you? Like, if you keep moving forward, I'm going to push back because I understand that's how the world works. So I don't presume to know the mind of Putin well enough to know which of those is true. Some combination of the two. But he will now be territorially acquisitive until he hits sufficient pushback. And so clearly he's hell-bent to take Ukraine. Will Ukraine be the end of it? Don't know. Now, also some of it is just because if he were to stop now doesn't mean he's not doing like the Xi calculation of, I'm not going to mess with Taiwan right now because I'm not strong enough to take on the US. But I mean, they've been talking openly for a long ass time. Like, we got to accomplish this and this and this, and then we'll be able to push back on the US. And then you get Xi comes into power and is far more Maoian than he is Deng Xiaoping, in my opinion. And so you've got him being like, I'm going to rule this bitch by an iron fist. And we are going to officially now be dismissive of the US. So that's where we're at. So you've got like all this, like when people detect that there's weakness, they are going to move. And so Russia feels like, yeah, we're in a strong enough position now. We've got alliances with China, a very strong military alliance with China. So we feel good about that. We've got an alliance with Iran. We feel good about that. So he's feeling emboldened.
And then from Europe, are they just, this guy is, we need help. They're getting flashbacks from previous world wars. Why do you think the NATO general is sounding this alarm at this scale at this time?
That's a really good question. So I don't know him as a personality yet, but if I'm a European, right now I'm thinking, we have lost faith in ourselves. Take England. England is now just a small country off the coast of France. England used to be the greatest economic and military superpower the world had ever known. Imagine the swagger. England doesn't have that kind of swagger now. England won't even stop immigrants from flooding their country. So England does not believe in itself. It does not believe, it is in like the biggest backlash over, oh God, we were this horrible imperial superpower. And to be honest, yeah, they were. But once you lose faith in yourself, you become far weakened. So if I'm a European, I'm thinking, France did not cover themselves in glory during World War II. They just tucked tail and ran. So they've probably got some thoughts about that. England has, over the last 100 years, lost the greatest empire the world had ever known before the US empire. And the Dutch used to be king shit. The Spanish used to be king shit. The Portuguese used to be a lot stronger. So you've got all these nations that have this incredible history, and they know that they almost lost everything in World War II. And then the aftermath of World War II was that basically the world was divided between two superpowers, the US and Russia, without asking them what they wanted. So imagine waking up one day and being like, wait, what? They just divided Europe? What? So, but that's how it played out. So now they're like, all right, America's no longer quite the ally that we thought. We can't be just fucking around with green energy. We've actually got to start thinking about being our own force. Now, I don't know if this guy is beloved or if everybody's like, this guy's a lunatic, he's a fringe character. Yeah. Like when you're looking at foreign politicians, I'm always like, wait, is this their Trump where they're like super divisive? Or is this somebody who's really got the backing of everybody? And that I don't know. Yeah. But he's certainly signaling that at a minimum, he believes they have to bluff so that Putin will believe it's not worth going beyond Ukraine, that, okay, these guys are really going to fight me here, so I'm going to take an exit ramp and get off. Or if they really mean it, and they're like, no. Ukraine is now a proxy war between not just the US and Russia, it's now a proxy war between Europe and Russia, and that Europe is, regardless of what the US does, they're going to like pony up and get in. So listen, I know better than to trust what any politician says, let alone Putin. But Putin has been saying Trump really wants peace. Europe clearly does not. So there's also the element of what does Europe want out of this? Do they want continued NATO expansion? Do they have some sort of bitterness against Russia that is still playing out? I don't know. That'll come out in time.
But Putin is struggling with Ukraine. Does he really think he can take on all of Russia or all of Europe? Or is it just I
don't think so. I don't think he's that stupid. But my instinct is that what you have is we had 70, 80 years of everybody just agreed we don't violate other nations' borders. The 90s was awesome, man. It was so hopeful in terms of the USSR collapsed. We all wanted to believe that Russia was going to join the West. They most certainly did not, but there was a period where it was like, oh no, they really might. And so all of that optimism has just sort of been frittered away. And now people realize, oh, we are unstable again. We are a world where people will violate borders and that they'll do so violently. So China I'll be interested to see if they move on Taiwan violently or if they do it administratively like they did Hong Kong. But Russia, obviously, is using military.
You think the U.S. should stay in NATO?
I haven't thought about it enough. So I'm thinking out loud, which I told you yesterday I try to do very little of. But it will go something like this. America is in such a weak economic position that for us to rack up even more debt to go in and do Article 5 guarantees and actually have boots on the ground and all of that would require such an act of unparalleled aggression on the part of Russia into, let's call it traditional Europe, that would be the only thing where I could see like, yeah, that really is bad. And you don't want to see all of Europe fall to Russia. And we did tell people that we would be there for you. Barring that, I think that we're far better off saying, listen, you guys need to arm up. You need to put a ton of money into your own military defense. And if something egregious happens, we're still here with you. But we've all been a little too trigger happy. We've all marched way too close to Russia's borders, and we're dealing with the backlash. We, America, need to focus on China. That's where we have to be concerned. So we'll help you, but only if you're helping yourself. That's sort of my final answer.
And so to the NATO chief's point, he is pushing for increased investment from Germany. Germany said they're going to bring 3.5% of their GDP into war efforts by the end of 2029, I believe, by the end of the decade. And he's pushing for other European nations to kind of increase their military spending as well, to not rely on the U.S. So I think that is at least a step in the right direction.
It's necessary for us to at least limit the amount that we have to police. I think that's very important for them to fight a lot of their own battles and rely on us only as a like, guys, we just couldn't get it done. And now we're really at risk and we're allied with you guys culturally, economically. And so we want to make sure that that continues. And then at that point, I would ask America to do a combination of two things: what is morally right and what is economically intelligent. And so if there is a play that is both of those things, great. If there isn't, then don't go in, because we're in a super fragile position. And if we overextend ourselves in Europe, China moves on Taiwan instantly.
Yeah. So on the back of that war effort kind of ramping up, Trump is thinking about leaving the G7 and creating an alternative known as the Core Five. And it would unite the five heavyweights of the United States, China, Russia, India, and Japan. I laughed when I initially saw this because I was like, isn't this just a BRICS nation? But they kicked out Brazil and Iran. So I understand that with NATO kind of being a relic of what it was formed for, and all these other G7, other superpowers kind of now being reshuffled, does it make sense to form new alliances? Or to your point, Thucydides' trap is too deep, people are already stuck in their ways, its diplomacy might not be as effective as it could have been a couple years ago, a couple decades ago.
Interesting. I have a weird emotional reaction to this. There's something interesting here. I've not explored this deeply, but my initial reaction is this is what Europe gets for being pussies for the last like 80 years. And so, yeah, if you guys are going to act a fool, literally, this is how I felt when I was in Italy. I was like, Italy, man, your guys' town, this is awesome. Thank you for ice shaking coffee. I now spend, I'm not kidding, at least 120 seconds shaking my coffee over ice every morning. I am actually concerned about a repetitive strain injury from doing it so much. So God bless you for giving me coffee shaken over ice. That feels like a group of people that are like, we used to be dope and now we're just going to coast. And I find that so morally repugnant. I believe that humans and nations have a moral obligation to get strong. And I don't feel that when I'm there. I feel people that are just awash in guilt, that have their hand out, that want the government to take care of everything, eliminate all the risk from my life. And they've just gotten soft. And this is just how things work, man. And so, yeah, being there just feels like, oh, cool. I'm visiting a museum of a culture that used to be rad. And I hate the way that feels. So anyway,
Okay.
Seeing them get booted by the countries that are still trying to be hardcore as fuck, yeah, I'll take that.
This might be a little bit painful for you, so walk through me. I'm gonna hold your hand through this as the crazy capitalist. Is there? We talk about AI. There's going to be a new usher in a new utopia. Pipe dream unicorns. But is there a transition right now from we want to be the dominant power, we want to be the number one economic engine, to maybe I could go in my little corner and chill, because to your point of Portugal, to your point of Spain, to your point of Italy, it's
Are
like,
you asking, should America coast?
I'm not asking if America should coast. I'm just asking, maybe it might be nice to stop starting stuff with everybody. Like, we don't have to answer every call. We don't have to go to every party. America needs to settle down. America's been too much in these streets. We've been at everybody else's war. We've been trying to help everybody else. America can't just sit down.
Here's the thing. I agree with it when you say it like that, that we have overextended ourselves. This happens to every empire. They realize, whoa, running all these military bases, being the one that everybody calls, it's incredibly expensive. And if you're not getting enough back economically, then it stops making sense. Now, to be honest, I think America probably could have, if unlike every empire that came before them, they could have stayed lean and mean and said, okay, we have the ability to export inflation to the rest of the world. But when bad thing happens inside of our country, we've got to let creative destruction happen. So your bank failed. I'm so sorry. Be smarter about the bank that you choose next time. Like if we were willing to do that rather than bail out, we could have stayed a lot stronger, but we just kept racking up debt and convinced ourselves that there was no end to the amount of debt that you could rack up. Even if we had stopped the banks from being bailed out, but then said we have to balance the budget. You can't be adding $1 trillion, $2 trillion a year. If we had just been more fiscally responsible, we could have like really pushed this out for decades more. So I am very sad that that's never how this kind of thing plays out. But yeah, seeing us stay lean and mean would have been awesome. Seeing us patrol the seas, making sure that commerce can flow, making sure that we get our VIG, whether that VIG is just we get to export our inflation, whatever. But we get our bite at the apple for doing what we're doing. That world was awesome. That's what the 80s and 90s felt like. It was rad. So that's where I would have wanted to see us. I don't want to see us now coast. I don't want to see us become a country that used to be cool. Now, the bad news is I feel like we're already there. So it's just a question. The story that I tell myself is that America is still savable. And I don't know that that's true. But I choose to wake up every day and act as if America is savable. But if people want to know why I'm focused on children's entertainment, adults, forget about it. But if you focus on kids, you actually can raise them to want to get strong. And that's my goal.
I don't necessarily, because I guess I want the Japan route, because I feel like Japan is a
No,
superpower.
you don't. Japan is in trouble.
I feel like Japan is a superpower with none of the war problems. They get invited to all the conferences. They have cool stuff. Their tourism is high.
You do realize
nobody
that
tries to
Japan
bomb
and
them.
China are at hyper risk of armed conflict right now as we speak.
Yes, but America's also on like 3 different fronts. So,
well, America is the world's policeman, so we never stopped being at war. We've effectively been, I ran the math at one point. It's like something like 87% of the years since, I forget when the clock started, since the Revolutionary War or something, we've been at war. It's wild. That war has touched that year. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. But nonetheless, Japan has put themselves in an insanely weak economic position, and culture has carried them a long way, but it will ultimately stop. They have been stagnated for 40 years. Dude, that's rough. So I don't think Americans would stand for that. Like, growth is a foundational pillar of human happiness. And when you're stagnated for 40 years, you don't have that. Now, the bad news is American wages have also stagnated. It's just if you owned assets, your life has gotten better and better and better and better and better. So the last 40 years have been extraordinary if you're in the asset owning class, which anybody could be, but most people will not. So we've had this K-shaped economy for a long time. In Japan, they're just stalled.
Yeah.
They're still powerful. I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
They're one of the big economies, but yeah, they're not in an enviable position right now as the long tail of their yield curve is going up, 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 up.
I guess it's just, I'm realizing that it isn't sustainable. So I was just hoping that we would take that exit ramp, but I guess.
I mean, the exit ramp is we're going to scale back to hemispheric power only. That's part of what I think is happening in Venezuela. So Venezuela is about Venezuela, but it's also about China. And it's about letting China know, because that oil, Venezuela sells 90%, I believe, of its oil to China, or China, it must be that. So us taking that tanker is, whether we intended to or not, and I think we do intend it to, is sending a message to China that says, this is our hemisphere, get out. What China's doing around Japan is them saying, hey, Asia is our hemisphere. America, get out. So yeah, it's going to be, the next decade is going to be dramatic.
Well, you queued it up. Let's jump into it. The U.S. seized a Venezuelan oil tanker. We'll get into the whys and everything about this, but I think it's interesting because we were just joking around how they just wanted to go to Venezuela for oil. This is Iran and Iraq 2.0, and lo and behold, the first thing we take from them is some oil. Fox News highlighted.
Hold on, really fast. The reason that we take oil is we are all economic units. Energy undergirds the cost of everything. Everything. This is all economics. And it's really interesting how when you try to boil things down to its like simplest building blocks, people do not understand themselves as an economic unit, and they really don't understand energy. Energy controls the cost of toys, hair care products, food. It's all just energy cost.
I feel like you set us up, but I need you to say more. Like, what do you mean? Like, well, how was that pulled through? Like,
so you said, lo and behold, they seized some oil. When people hear that. I think they think, yeah, oil, everybody wants oil. That's crazy. And they don't go to the next step, which is, oh, everything is about economics. Got it. All these wars, what are they about? Economics. Cool. Because once you understand, like as you begin to ask, okay, let's not let economics be this vague concept. Let's really let it, what does it mean to be an economic unit? Once you start seeing yourself as an economic unit in the eyes of the government, all of that, then you get very disciplined about, oh, I need to be paying attention to my money. So let me give you an example. What money is a way for you to capture the value of your time. It's like a freezer for food. So forever, if I killed a wildebeest and I wanted to store the value of those calories, I had to let you eat some as well as me because it would go bad before I would be able to finish it. Then eventually we get freezers and I'm like, I don't have to give you shit. I'll put it in my freezer. It'll be there for me when I don't get the next one. I'm good. And so once you understand that you agree to a salary because you're like, if I sit at home, I can't capture the value of my time. I have let it dissipate into nothing. It's a bit like the heat in the engine of your car. You can turn your heater on and now that heat blows into your car and it keeps you warm on a cold day. When it is a day where you don't want that heat, it just dissipates into the atmosphere and you don't get to capture the value of that heat, right? You don't need it in that sense, but like if you don't turn your heater on a cold day, it just goes out into the ether and you get no value from it. That's sitting at home and doing nothing. So if you want to capture the economic value of like your leisure time, you have to own assets because the asset can work for you when you're not there. So now by owning an asset, you can capture the value of your leisure time. When you're exchanging money for a salary, you're saying, I want to capture that value in a way that I can essentially store in a freezer. And that's money. Now, this is why people need to be paranoid about inflation because it's like me unplugging your freezer. And so, yes, you have stored meat in that freezer, but that meat is going to go bad because you're going to start slowly thawing. And when you see your life as like, oh, this is economics, then you start asking the right questions. When you don't see your life as you as economic unit, everything gets very confusing because we're seizing oil tankers because of economic reasons. Like, why does China care about losing that oil? They can go buy oil somewhere else because Venezuela is sending it to them illegally. China has leverage. This is why I say always know your leverage point. So China's like, hey, you've got to put up false flags. You've got to turn your like corresponder off, all that. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to sell it. So I run the risk of pissing off the US by buying this oil from you. So I'm going to buy this shit at a huge discount. And Venezuela goes, okay, cool. I'll take the hit because you've got the leverage. I'm not supposed to be doing this. I've got all these sanctions against me. So fine. So now China's like, damn, the seizing of this tanker caused global prices to go up by 1 or 2%. Now, I think largely out of paranoia, not direct impacts, because the tanker doesn't have that much. But like the fact that America's going to be like, nope, like we're going to start, because this is almost certainly not the only one. We're going to seize tanker after tanker if they keep trying to send it. So now people are like, oh, this is going to be an ongoing thing. That's going to raise the prices because the cheap oil certainly isn't going to make its way to China. If cheap oil, like we're all benefiting from all the things we buy from China and it's so cheap. We're like, wow, China's amazing because they do shit like this. So now, as we seize tankers, that's going to cause prices to go up even more because we're all economic units. Oil is an economic question. It's not about energy as much as it is about what that impact is on the economy, because everything in the economy needs energy to produce. This is why AI becomes so important, because it can drive energy costs effectively to zero, labor costs effectively to zero, and those are the only costs other than materials, but you begin, they're limited, but you begin extracting them for free.
Got you. Okay. You landed a plane on that. All right, let's jump into
the U.S. seizing an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. That marks a major escalation in the crackdown against narco-terrorism. So we're watching this today. We're doing fine. Had a good night last night and a great day this morning.
we don't need this
And you have a great time. So I'm Dana Perino, and this is America's Newsroom, and truly Fox News threw a wonderful holiday video of the daring operation, and it shows U.S. forces swooping in from a helicopter above the vessel and then landing on the deck of the ship with their weapons drawn. At the White House, President Trump called the seizure more than justified.
From the standpoint of news, as you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela.
He really is starting to look tired, I'm not going to lie.
Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so you'll be seeing that later. It was seized for a very good reason.
So now all of this.
It was seized for a very good reason. So to your point, there are sanctions in place right now. One because of the tariff war we're going through with China, but another one on Russia and Iran. And one of the workarounds is Venezuela's kind of sending oil to those regions through proxies, backlots, to your point, illegal methods. Is this something that we think is happening more, is going to get ramped up, or is this kind of
aggressively? So, okay, how much of the official story? This is about narco-terrorism. You're going to hear that over and over and over and over and over and over. How much of that is true? Probably some, but I also think that this is probably largely a cover story. So ultimately, the U.S. is going to have to establish itself firmly as owning the Western Hemisphere. And China is going to establish itself firmly as owning the Eastern Hemisphere. And so now it becomes a question of what are all the moves that they're going to make in order to establish that dominance. Certainly going into Venezuela, controlling the oil, controlling things that are being shipped if we have sanctions. Now, the wild thing is, God, the power really is amoral. I hate to say it. That's not going to change. Okay? If I can get people with me that far, then the next statement will make sense. But people are going to choke on this one. Okay. Power is amoral. It's always going to be that way. It is. I'm actually changing my posture to deal with this. So you want to be the guy with all the power. But that's not going to stop you from being amoral. I would rather be in a world where America is the amoral asshole that controls everything than be in a world where China or Russia or Iran or whoever else, because I don't want anybody else, to be the one in charge of all this. Because we just, like, think of it this way. A guy, Maduro, took control of his country. We decided that, well, that was illegal. The woman, the opposition party, the woman that won, she's the rightful ruler of Venezuela, and you're illegitimate. And so we simply say, because we have more guns, that, nah, she's rightful. We're going to sanction the shit out of you. Oh, and by the way, if you don't listen to what we say, we will send armed men on very angry helicopters to take all your shit. We will point guns in their faces and we will say, knock, knock, this is ours now. We literally just took oil and a boat, and we are not giving either of them back. Now, they say that we're going to follow all the legal procedures, but we control all of that. So I want you to imagine a world where a shipment of stuff was about to make its way to America, and China was like, nope, we have sanctions on you guys. They can't send you things. These are ours. We would have a fit. And so I'm just like, this is why you want to be the one in control. And again, it's amoral, but knowing that it is going to happen, don't you want to be the one in control? So that one's tough for people because they wish, myself included, that the world weren't amoral, that power didn't act like that everybody was just chill, that humans don't expand until they hit a force that forces them to stop. They don't like, this one anchors me a lot. You know, there's like 2 really big prizes for war in a historical context. Resources, everybody knows that one. The other one's women. That's rough.
That's what I was thinking about.
Once you understand that for millennia, we killed other people because we're like, women. That's the human mind at work. So now you scale all this stuff up to the global level, and we have the same algorithms running. Whatever's valuable, I want to control it. And you're in this moment.
Jeez.
So yes, this is going to escalate. A lot of words around that very simple answer.
And then when asked about what's he going to do with this oil, Trump
happens to all of the oil aboard that ship. Here's what he said.
We're interested in the seizure of this tanker. Well, what happens to the oil on this ship? Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What port does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You know, you're a good newsman. Just follow the tanker. I assume we're going to keep the oil.
The Attorney General.
It's our oil now.
Literally.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. So the good news is that because you've got global power plays, like none of this just explodes and runs violently out of control. It will be a far more controlled escalation where China and the US are doing these different power moves and checking each other and building alliances and all that and dealing with their economies. China will have problems sometimes, we'll have problems other times. And so it'll keep it from like just becoming like this crazy flashpoint into World War III. But there isn't enough between us and World War III to make any of us happy. So we've got to be very careful, very thoughtful. Peace will not happen by accident.
Peace will not happen by accident. So in essence, this started off as they have drug boots that were going on, and now
that's the cover story. Remember, politicians will do and say anything to gain and retain power. That's it. Every word out of their mouth is spin. Every word out of everyone's mouth is spin. My wife is constantly spinning me. I'm constantly spinning my wife. And when you choose between two words, you are spinning. But politicians really do it to it may go beyond amoral. It's bad. They will do and say whatever they need to.
All right. In AI breakthrough news, Elon in El Salvador launched the world's first nationwide AI tutoring program. I feel like you've been banging this drum for a minute.
This is incredible. So I wrote the deep dive. It comes out on Monday, right? The 900 days. So talked about this on Wednesday. I'm writing this thing about we've got 900 days of capitalism left. It's a claim made by Emad Mostak. And I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. And then I'm writing it. And I'm like, oh God, is it really going to happen that fast? And then as I'm like really looking at the building blocks, I'm like, is it going to take that long? So it's, things almost never happen as fast as you expect them to. But remember, even when you're not hearing any new output from AI, it's still all happening. And it really is moving unbelievably fast. I wish I could give people the same sense that I had. So yesterday you were saying we have a guy here, his name is Brett. Shout out to Brett, 3D artist. And Brett works on Project Kaizen, our video game. And he comes over to my desk literally. So this is Friday. He came to my desk on Wednesday and he's like, tomorrow, I'm going to need like the next thing that you want me to work on. And I was like, okay, cool. So now imagine I'm standing flat-footed. He wants a character to build. I don't have one. I jump into AI and I create one. Literally, just like clickety-clack. It gives me a version. And I'm like, cool, create this character, but I don't like this, and I don't like that. And he then goes clickety-clack, and from the image that I created using AI, he creates a 3D asset using AI that is that character. And then of course, AI like smears things and does stuff like that. And so he goes in, and because he's a very talented 3D artist, he just changes it all. And now we have a dope 3D character that I love. And it happened in like 2 days. Because I remember how long that used to take. Dude, I had to pay. Artists are expensive, okay? Art for a video game as of today accounts for about like 43% of the total cost. And these are like hundreds of millions of dollars for a game. So you're going to spend on a AAA game $100 million on the art. And I remember hiring the best artists that we could find, truly extraordinary artists. They know who they are. Shout out to you guys. You've made such an impact on Kaizen. But they would spend a week, 2 weeks just on the concept art.
Jeez.
So AI has already had massive impact that people don't understand. I am convinced that a lot of the softening in the job market is just people going, I actually don't need to hire that person because we can get so much more done with just one person. So this to me is a very big deal because you can imagine what's this going to do to teachers? How many teachers will we need? If you've got an AI that has been trained on the entire corpus of human knowledge that can explain anything, at least as good, but probably in most cases better, far better than the teachers, that can tailor every answer to that exact student's comprehension level. And this is like, not to keep bringing the show up, but death by lightning. Garfield gets shot, but he doesn't die for quite a while, like a month or something after the initial gunshot. So this is the gunshot that killed traditional education. It's just going to take a while for it to die. But this is the shot that killed it. It's going to die now. This is at the nation state level, man. And when people start looking at El Salvador and they're like, wait a second, these kids now have more time for recess. The school, let's say we cut the cost in half for the school, and the educational outcomes are 3 or 4x better. How will anybody be able to say that that's a problem? And because they're already running pilot programs like this in Texas, we know it takes the kids 2 hours with AI to get increased educational outcomes that they were getting from whatever 8 hours of schooling. So we already know this works. This is just scale. This isn't like a question mark. Is it going to work? Is it not? It's going to work. Traditional education is already dying, guaranteed to be different within 10 years for sure. So yeah, this is a big moment.
Yeah, I feel like it's already fractaling at the university level. It just has to kind of get dwindled down to the K through 12 stuff.
Any technology that offers an advantage will come into existence. Every parent who is obsessed with the future prospects of their children, and not all parents are, fair enough, but every parent that's obsessed with the educational outcomes of their children will insist that they're enrolled in a school that uses AI once they become aware of what's happening in Texas, once they start seeing which again, those results are already in. And then once they see what goes on in El Salvador. And so there will be customer demand for this. Yeah. It will start with the wealthy because they don't have to care what the government funds. But I think the U.S. will go down this path very quickly if they keep seeing positive results.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm on the fence because it's like I like it, but is it too new?
I mean, look, there are going to be outcomes that we don't anticipate. There always are. But in education, no, I don't think this is a problem. I do think that you need a human at the front of the room in the beginning, in the transitional phase. That will probably largely go away because what people are trying to convince themselves of is that AI will never be able to be that encouraging thing that made the kid believe in themselves. And I'm here to tell you that within 3 years, AI will be so much better at making that kid believe in himself that we are all going to struggle with the one thing that we have to worry about with AI, which is that when something can do everything better than us, where do we derive meaning and purpose? And even if you'll grant me, okay, let's say that it doesn't happen in 3 years. Let's say it happens in 10 or even 15. Bro, unless you're 95 when you're hearing this, you're dealing with that in your lifetime. So if you just had a baby today, this is before they graduate what used to be known as high school, which will not be the same thing in 15 years. But so yeah, AI doesn't just get good at AI things. AI becomes more human than human. It will be able to mimic anything that we want it to mimic. Now, it itself may have a totally different experience, but it will be able to mimic human behavior better than anyone else. The glint in its eye, the way that it knows just when to encourage or when to push a student, all of that. AI will even be able to detect patterns deeply enough to know when to disappoint the child so that the kid has like a little thing, like a little beef, just enough to be frustrated. Like
enough to give him a chip on his shoulders.
Yes. Yes. Dude, I'm telling you, like people really underestimate what a 3,000 IQ is going to look like.
Sheesh. On the backs of that, somebody said that Sam Altman was asked about raising kids with AI. He's like, I can't imagine not raising my child with AI.
Facts. Dude, are people not using AI? Like when I use AI, I'm just like, this is scandalous. Where was this when I was in high school and I had to go to the local library of the local university, which was already small and ridiculous. And I had to randomly pick up books that my teachers were like, look up John Locke. Oh, I don't know the fuck John Locke is. Okay. And so you literally just start flipping randomly through pages, hoping a sentence or like a title, chapter title catches your eye so that you can go find this and then like turn that into like an essay. It's so wild. Instead of actually being able to engage with AI and be like, all right, explain it to me like I'm a fifth grader. All right, explain it to me like I'm a senior in high school. All right, explain it to me now like I'm in college. And you can go through all of that over the course of like 20 minutes. Dude, it's so wild. So anyway, listen, if you want to worry about AI, we should show the McDonald's thing. I think I put it in the page.
Yeah.
That one scares me just because that one is, oh God, there's something so dystopian about it. So that one freaks me out. And then where are you going to derive your meaning and purpose? Those are like the areas of paranoia. But there's so much cool stuff that's going to come out of AI. It's wild. It's so wild.
Here is, if you guys can see, this is the fully automated McDonald's at Fort Worth, Texas. It's a pilot one right now. So ordering is done at a kiosk, and I think everybody's now used to McDonald's with a kiosk. It's like split. But the thing is, like, the actual delivery of the food is also automated. The only thing that's done by humans right now is food preparation. But if we look at the Chipotle bot, that Chipotle is now piloting in another city that's making its guac for us, those robots are already being in process too. So we're definitely going to see the first completely automated restaurant probably in 2026, at least a pilot of one.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Man, as a child of the 80s, I remember what it was like to go into a McDonald's and they had like the big play area and they had all the people behind the counter and you had to wait in line. I don't know. There's something really enjoyable about it. Like the whole experience was awesome. I cannot imagine kids today responding to McDonald's the way that I responded to McDonald's as a kid. So there is something sad about that, but whatever, that's nostalgia bait. So
They're gonna miss the best thing in the world though, and that's the hookup. I feel like everybody had a friend that worked at a fast food, ice cream, some type of food establishment, and you will go when your friend is working and you'll order something else and he'll throw a Big Mac or something in there. I buy a small fry, he'll give me a medium fry, and I'm like, thanks, Rob, I appreciate you, bro. And it was just a good time. Like now it's gonna be robots.
Do I think Rob is a real person?
Rob is a real person. Shout out to Rob. But he used to hook us up when we used to go to McDonald's. And I just feel like that, I don't know, it's gone.
But here's the thing, they're gonna grow up, because I'm gonna make this a reality if nobody else. They're gonna grow up playing Project Kaizen. Inside the game, they're going to be able to get these things called exotics. The exotic will help them do these very difficult challenges inside the game, and then they're going to have like a real one, like a Teddy Ruxpin version of that character inside the game. Both the physical one and the character inside the game will be aware of each other. So they'll have persistent memory across, like whether it's the physical one or the in-game one. And eventually they're going to have like literal robots walking around with them, walking them to school, listening about their day. Listen, I get why people can see this from a dystopian standpoint, and we are going to have to put, like anything, this will escalate into a problem. And if you let your kid isolate and they only know AI, like that's going to be bad. But if we instead curb some of this stuff and go, okay, this is giving us a lot of free time, this is driving costs down, and now we do things to bring people together with some of that extra free time, I think it will be absolutely incredible. And for anybody out there that's like, what I really want is either a like 4-day work week or a no-day work week, I just really want my life to be leisure, you should be trying to implement AI as fast as humanly possible. And you can use all of the cost reductions to go be the most human thing ever, to totally detach, all of that. But you'll be living in a world of abundance where things are basically free. So once the AI is here, you can decide how you want to engage with it. Obviously, all of this is caveat that it doesn't enslave or kill us. But that just, I don't know, maybe I'm totally delusional, but that strikes me as very low odds. And so it will be, if people can handle the meaning and purpose thing, then it's going to be incredible. So this is where the future is asking you one question. Are you a Minecraft player type or not? Because if you have to be force-fed your quests, well, I mean, then you can just ask your bot to tell you what to do, and you go and do the questing that the bot wants. Go to the grocery store and get these eggs. Otherwise, if you can come up with your own things that you're trying to do, hey, it's going to be so incredible. Oh my God.
I hate that analogy. Maybe it's just because I don't like Minecraft.
Well, that's the problem. So Minecraft, greatest video game ever made. I think it's still the most played video game. And it is entirely, you have to be self-directed. I love it. That is a game. Like, I'm going to start doing job interviews where I'm just like, show me how many hours you've spent in Minecraft. If it's over 10,000, I'm like, all right, this guy is very self-directed.
It's my level of spectrum. I like it. Hop on. Speaking of AI, chat just released 5.2. Mason, I'm putting you on the spot because you are my AI person. I feel like every time there's a new AI update.
Used it yesterday.
I remember when you were the first person that told me Gemini was legit. He was like, yo, Gemini is good. We got to like use it now. So yes, you used it yesterday. Tell me about the experience. What you think about it?
So I was actually working on coding something yesterday, like a side project.
Nice.
I started on 5.1 and they did the model switch in the middle of like while I was in a chat, like doing like a full thing. And so then it switched models, lost all my context, and then I had to feed it every single file of the app I was building back. So that was annoying. But it was very good at, like, now it's giving me full outputs instead of just like, go change this thing, but then there's 5 bugs I have to chase.
Yeah.
So that's been nice, far fewer bugs. That's been good. I haven't been able to test like how good it actually writes long form writing, but we'll see.
I seen like the personality mode kind of. I got that prompt. Like, do you want to keep it casual? Do you want to talk about? Do you want to be funny, witty? Do you change any of those settings? Have you guys like messed with that?
I have.
Yeah.
I despise like the really like Grok unhinged mode and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That is so wonky to me. Yeah. I don't enjoy that at all. But I do like the where it feels like a collaborator. So I've given mine like a whole bunch of instructions on how to treat me. Always push back. Don't overhype me, like, but at the same time, if something's cool, like, yeah, like, let's get in, let's be excited. I'm an excitable person. I want to see that reflected back. And so, yeah, when you can find that sweet spot that's really tailored to your personality, it is a lot of fun. But for me, once it starts spilling into like it's being silly or bombastic, I'm just like, ack.
Yeah. Could we throw this up, G? Right under Sam Altman's announcements of it, somebody threw up this graphic, and I actually laughed out loud. Because I feel like this is where we are, like introducing the world's most powerful model, and then it's just whatever company has the press release of that day.
Yeah.
Because so we're just going in like this circle, but
literally. But that's how fast this is improving. That's what I'm saying. You're not waiting on one company. It's like, yo, you get your like huge leap forward with OpenAI today. You get your huge leap forward a week from now with Gemini, and they're just like going against each other. This is why competition is so brilliant, because these guys are all trying to beat each other. There are some changes to Figma where they're trying to compete with Photoshop.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh my God. Like the editing capabilities on a photo is crazy. You now just circle the area, tell it what you want it to be, and it just becomes that. It's so wild. And it really does seem to understand design principles. So it's not like it just tweaks everything. Yeah, if you guys can see your screens right now would be the time to look. Like this is completely crazy that you're able to do this kind of stuff. Oh man, it's so intelligent. Look at that. Do you know how hard that stuff is to do if you actually have to do it? Now look, I'd want to.
So I would love this.
Look at this. Look. Isolate. Brunk. Now it's an element. Oh my God, that's so wild. So look, they're going to show you the best thing. They're going to have done 30 of these and 2 of them came out well, and they don't show you the 28 that sucked. But this is pretty impressive.
Nice. I haven't seen like a negative headline in AI in a while. I think they fixed character AI, kind of fell off. They put a bunch of restrictions in there so no kids are being coached in how to do suicide. It seems like it's been a bumpy road to get there, but now we're finally starting to see some of the payoff. Disney just announced a deal with OpenAI, so now in Sora, you'll be able to use Disney characters.
I'm surprised that Disney was one of the first to move. They've been so protective. I'd be very curious to see what all the limitations are. Because Disney is notoriously sinister when it comes to like the way that they treat their IP. They've got this gloss of like being really friendly, but behind the scenes, they're just suing everybody.
I feel like that's how Nintendo is too.
Yes, Nintendo, same thing.
Yeah.
So wild that these like kid-friendly companies are just.
Is brutal. It? But if this Disney deal goes well, is this the end of like copyright IP? Like,
no, this would be the beginning. This is where it's like the IP holders are actually taking steps to make sure that they have ownership over their IP, that you either can or can't based on what they deem to be like the right way to use this. This is very interesting because now OpenAI can just openly admit models trained on all that stuff. And so it's trained on it, but you can only use it in these ways. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be how companies maintain a level of control over this. And I've long believed like these companies, look, they're so big that they don't have to think about it this way. But as somebody who's small, like I really want people to say mod Project Kaizen. Yes, like the more people that are playing this and using it, yes, please. I want people to create fan art. I want people to be able to build assets that we put into the game that they can sell to other people so that other people can make money building inside of Kaizen. That's how you get noticed. Mm-hmm. So the fact that these guys are so stringent, like not wanting, like even like imagine you go to a comic book convention. Do they all stop people from selling like fan art of Mickey Mouse? It's like, bro, this guy's just trying to like scrape by a living, like making art, like Jesus Christ. So I get why they're not going to let somebody build a t-shirt company off their back. I understand that. But like when you've got a guy who's making, let's say $20,000 a year, selling fan art that incorporates your character or whatever, going after those guys, just, it's crazy. It's like going after a high school because they didn't pay you royalties for doing your Pippin or whatever. It's like, come on, man.
All right. So, Jerome Too Late Powell, as Trump calls him, just cut the rates. It was a 25% basis cut. I was hoping for like 3 or 4 points, but
cut?
Yeah, let's do it.
What?
So I could get on the property ladder, and then I could become a boomer that's not going to sell, not going to go anywhere, and
the
mess
prices
up
of the properties would just skyrocket. They would remain out of reach. That's the problem. So
I feel like you just got to be the first one there, because just like in COVID, like March to June, you was cooking if you got it, but after that, it just ran away.
If you could be like you got all your paperwork done, it's ready. Your fingers over the buy button.
I wouldn't even put it on the sheet. I wouldn't say nothing. I'm like, the rates is hey Mason, and now's the time. Green light. We'll get on the property ladder, and then we'll tell all the other people to stop being lazy and get avocado toast.
There you go.
I was so excited. I was so excited.
Drew. I like
it. You have a longer, more interconnected reason on why they're dropping these rates, even though inflation is kind of having some worry. Walk us through it. You want me to jump right to the chart? How do you want to?
This is fiscal dominance.
Professor Tom, set us up.
Fiscal dominance, as far as the eye can see. They don't have an option. So they talked a big game for as long as they could, but the reality is they're in 2026. The graph. So if you're looking at your screen, you'll see this. In 2026, we have an ungodly amount of debt that has to be refinanced. And there was no way that they were going to refinance it at the higher interest rates. Not possible. You bankrupt America. So that graph right there shows you exactly why the Fed had no choice. No matter what they were saying out loud, there was just no way around this. So I had said a while ago, like, hey, I don't know why they're not lowering the rates so that they can deal with that. Here we are. Now, the bad news is it's actually terrible that we have to do this, because it's going to cause more money to flood into the system. You're going to get more bubbles created everywhere. So this is one of those, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Man, fiscal dominance is a bad place to be. As a reminder to everybody, fiscal dominance is where you're in a position that the government is running deficits so extreme that the Fed basically has no good options, because if they don't lower the rates, then they basically freeze the credit market because nobody can afford the interest payments, including the US government. And if they do lower the interest rates, then they flood the system with cheap money and you just get bubbles forming everywhere. You also inflate the currency. So it's bad. It's bad. Like there is no good option. You don't want to be in that position. We are in that position, and we're still, Drew, this is the part that drives me crazy. If people were like, okay, cool, I'm only going to vote for politicians and policies that will balance the budget, great. Okay, hardship, got to be austere, never fun, but we got to do it. We're not doing that. We're just like, it'll be somebody else's problem. Everybody's betting I'm going to be out of office by the time this thing blows up. Or like, have you ever heard the phrase, how did you go broke? First slowly and then all at once? I believe it was from Ernest Hemingway, of all people. That is what happens. Like, you try to deny that you have a problem for as long as you can, because you don't want to face, like, I've been telling people one thing, but the reality is something else. Like, people just don't want to face that. And so they drive off the cliff. This is, oh my God, Drew. It's like a friend of a friend kind of thing, but I'm way too close to somebody who actually killed his wife and kids. Here's the real story. Can you believe this? So guy's broke, lost his job like 8 months ago or something, was pretending to go to work every day. Kids want to go to Disneyland. So he's like, 100%, let's go to Disneyland. Now he knows he can't take them to Disneyland because he's broke. Gets closer and closer and closer. Now, instead of saying, bring the family together and say, listen, really hard news, and I'm devastated as a man, but the reality is I lost my job 8 months ago. I've been lying. You certainly say all this to the wife. I've been lying. I'm horrified. I want to get it together. We're going to have to reduce. We're going to have to move into a small apartment. I know this is going to be tough, but we're going to be resilient. We're going to get through this. Here's the plan. Let's go. Instead of doing that, he murdered them all on the night. They were packed, man. They were packed for Disneyland, and then he killed them.
Sheesh.
Like, that is so crazy. That's what this is. This is like, every economist knows where this goes. You go bankrupt as a country. You must default at some point. But instead of balancing the budget so that we can at least like push that as far out into the future as possible so that we can slowly deflate the bubble, they're just like, well, eventually I'll just wake up and fucking kill him.
Jeez.
That's so crazy.
That's wild.
So,
I'm speechless.
Yeah, this is why I'm just like, man, no one wants austerity. I get it, but you need it. You need it. You have to balance the budget. You have to. It is a non-negotiable.
Yeah. With the 25% basis point cut, based off of this chart alone, we saved about $30 to $25 billion just by refinancing that small like 0.25%. That's $20 billion that I guess takes it off, like we're refinancing. But so you can even tell that there a small cut, which isn't making ripples through society, it still is another 25, but like it's substantial. So that's only 0.25%. We can only imagine, $8 trillion coming due.
And
so
I'll be very curious to see how far they take this. Like, is this the last cut? Probably not. And if Trump is able to effectively take over the board of the Fed through loyalists, how far do they cut, man?
Yeah,
that's the part that really scares me. And Trump's already playing a game of chicken where it's like, we're going to grow our way out of this. Are we? Like, I'm not so sure. I think that we can on a long enough timeline with AI, but like, you gotta give me like 7 years-ish. And we will have such a bubble. If we lower rates, we'll have an insane bubble problem. And if we don't lower rates, then we'll freeze up the credit markets. So it's like, oh God, this is going to be so interesting, man. This is going to be very interesting in a train wrecky way, but nonetheless.
And this is also on the back that home prices in the U.S., they went negative for the first time in over 2 years, just meaning net prices have gone down versus going up.
Yeah.
So it seems like corrections are starting to happen.
I mean, they have to. Listen, job market is softening, I believe, largely because of AI. Job market is also softening because we've had a K-shaped recovery, but you certainly, the people that don't own assets, their dollar's worth less and less and less. Prices have been going up. You also self-deported, like if you put them all together, it's like 2.5 million between the, 900,000 or something, that we've like manhandled and booted out of the country. Then you've got 1.5 mil-ish that have self-deported. And so we've got 2.5 million people. Some meaningful percentage of those were competing for houses, had bought houses. People are saying that banks are now having to deal with foreclosures because people got deported. That meant that they were illegal, but somehow got government-backed loans to buy properties. That's crazy. Wow. So anyway, you put all of that together, and now you've got declining home prices. Now, it's only been 2 years since you had it. And 2 years ago, it's not like everybody was like, oh my God, yay. But at least it's trending in the right direction. And listen, I get it. I'm a homeowner. I have a lot of money tied up on my property. And for my own sake, I want the value of my property to go down. You've got to have a thriving middle class. You've got to have a thriving middle class. Like, I just don't get how people cannot put two and two together on that one. So, housing prices have to come down. Ideally, by building more houses. Build more houses. That is the punchline. But
yeah, Austin just had a graphic that came out. They had over 1,500 home apartments that were under $1,000, and I'm talking about like in downtown was in the map. Caleb,
because they have let more apartments be built.
That was just more housing options.
It's incredible. I also think people are starting to leave Austin. If I read that correctly at the headline level, like there for a while during COVID, like Austin was just like the place to be.
Yeah, there was a boom.
And now we've got people that are like 105 in the summer. No thanks. And they're piecing out. I don't know, like if the outflows are already that substantial or not.
Yeah, it's definitely a model though. When you deregulate housing and you have more supply, the overall price.
For sure, Houston is a phenomenal example of that. When I wrote the deep dive on the housing problem, I didn't realize that Houston was like forever. They're just like, build, of course, like whatever the market will bear, go for it. And it's just kept housing prices nice and steady, where everywhere else is like going up and to the right.
Well, it seems like there is some policy changes that are happening to get us more fiscally responsible. On one side, we have Senator Rand Paul. Somebody shouted him out in the chat. I forgot who that is, but your boy's doing something. He has started the movement to audit the Fed. My investigation uncovered over $600 billion in quiet payouts the Fed made to major banks, while taxpayers got nothing but inflation and losses. These are some witnesses that are doing to talk about their testimony. But ultimately, he wants to audit the Fed and the secrecy and restore sound money. I know this is like music to your ears,
bro. This is like he's flirting now. Like, yeah, this is exactly what we need. Are we going to get it? Probably not. But if we could make it understandable to the public why central banking is so bad, that's how you start to get to fiscal responsibility, being able to balance the budget, getting people excited about wanting to grow, but wanting to grow in a way that's actually sustainable, that's built on like a real solid foundation. This is how I feel at the top of the show for anybody that wasn't with us. We were talking about Project Kaizen. Somebody was asking if we had merch like t-shirts. Yes, we sold out. We never restocked. And we didn't restock because when we were first building Kaizen, I was really trying to build hype and the game at the same time. And it was just a fool's errand because I was so excited about it. And so I've had fantasies of doing all kinds of things from trading cards and like anime and all that stuff. And I was just like, hold on. People have to care about the game first and foremost. Get people playing the game. And then that's like my bright line. If enough people are playing the game, then I'll start doing ancillary stuff. But you got to focus on making the game dope first. Like I want people to want like all the growth and the money and yeah, let's go. Like I want them to want a booming economy, but it's got to be based on, we've got a balanced budget. We're only using a reasonable amount of debt. And then from there, we can do all these cool things, but it will force people to be fiscally responsible. But while you have the central bank, you don't have to do any of that because you play this crazy shell game, which causes like this insane like 150-year decline. Because it's 150 years, nobody gives a fuck. And so they're just like, that'll be my grandkids' problem. I don't have to think about it. And so they just let it play out. But we are all unfortunate enough to be the ones that are now, music just stopped and we realize, there's not a lot of chairs. So we have to deal with this problem, but you're not going to be able to deal with it until you can get people to understand why a central bank is such a problem. And I just don't know if you're ever going to be able to, which is why every empire just drives off the cliff.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because Rand Paul wants to audit the Fed, and then on the other side, Scott Bessent, we could throw this up too. Scott Bessent just reprioritized the Financial Stability Oversight Council. It was one of the councils that was formed after Dodd-Frank. The priority of it originally was risk prevention. So that way banks aren't taking predatory loans, things like that. But he reprioritized it to make growth its first order concern versus like stopping risk. And economic security is financial stability. So we need to get people economically good before we start worrying about the people that are able to afford the predatory loans and kind of go chasing the wrong way. So one of the things that he's starting, that he formed was 4 working groups. The first one is a market resilient working group that focuses on treasury markets, short-term, wholesale funding, equity and credit markets. A second group is household resilience, household balance sheets, debt, saving, insurance, and credit access, housing and mortgage. I feel like that's the middle class one, focus right there. AI working group and how AI can strengthen financial system resilience, risk AI can pose financial stability. And then the last one is crisis preparedness and tech risk, about cyber attacks, disruptions at key service providers, risk from advanced technologies, including quantum computing, and geopolitical and tech-driven threats. So it seems like on one side, Rand Paul is trying to audit the Fed so that way more transparency can be shown. And then Scott Bessent is saying, hey, we need to start figuring out how we can grow our way out of this from let's not worry about chasing bankers and trying to throw them in jail. Let's instead worry about what in the market we can do to make sure more people can get on that ladder. So it does seem like there's a bunch of different options to approach to fix that money debt problem. So this does seem like a good sign. We'll see what actually comes out with this, what legislation they come up with that can actually help versus it just being another council that talks about it, releases a report, and then nothing changes. So
here's how I feel about this. We can all agree that beating your wife is bad. Yes.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
But the 3 married people in the room, yes. Okay.
But
right, okay.
if you're going to beat your wife, don't do it in a visible way. get a phone book, like distribute the blunt force trauma, right? Like things that are going to be easy for her to cover up with her clothes.
We need an allegedly button. We are not giving legal advice.
This is what Besson is doing. This is still top down. We have a central bank. We just think we're smarter and we're going to beat our wife in the right way. And I just want to say, stop beating your fucking wife. Stop beating your wife. How hard is that? Stop beating your wife. Don't try to beat your wife better. Stop. So this is like some talk about how we beat her better. Now,
somebody said, tell them you're taking them to Disney World. That's dark.
That's
dark, but that's my type of humor. That's my type of humor.
That's so dark.
My bad. Go ahead.
So, oh God, is this a step in the right direction? Probably, but like, if you actually want to solve the problem, I get it's a very big change, but you've got to balance your budget. You've got to, if you're going to keep the Fed, it has to be with a balanced budget. You cannot both have a machine that lets you print infinite money and a spending plan that lets you spend infinite money. That is how you get yourself in trouble. My ideal would be that you shut down the Fed. My ideal would be that you have constitutional amendments that control spending so that you want a little bit of debt and you never want it to escalate. And so by putting in rules that like stop that would be so much better for the American people, for the middle class. Like that's where I want to see this all go. I think about this a lot in video game development. There's two ways to do things. You can do it from the top down, and we've all played games. The vast majority of games are developed from the top down. So you're in a level that's handcrafted. They're going to get you to turn where they want you to turn. They're going to place lights in certain places that draw your eye and all of that. And they try to make it feel like you're not on rails, but you're on rails. There's only so many places that you can go. That's way number one. That's top down. I'm going to tell you how to play this game. Then there's way number two, which is what we're doing with Project Kaizen. Everything is procedurally generated. You're building it like you're trying to create a real universe. And you're saying there are a set of rules. And then whatever comes out of those set of rules, it is what it is. And so there are rules that generate the terrain. There's rules that generate caves. There's rules that generate monsters. There's rules that generate everything inside the game. And so you don't go in and say, I want this to turn to the right or whatever. You go say, I'm going to tweak rules, and then it changes across the whole thing. And then people play the game how they want to play the game. The free market is where you set rules and then you let whatever happens. And if that means that a bank fails or whatever, then the bank fails. If that means that somebody loses their house, they lose their house. If that means that a company collapses, the company collapses, whatever. The rules are the rules. And if you felt like, we didn't want that particular circumstance to lead to something bad, then you see within your confines, can you change the rules? But then again, whatever plays out, plays out. But instead, we pick winners and losers. We're now investing directly in companies. That's fucking wild. That is China. What are you doing? You say, we're going to save this company, but not that one during the 2008 crisis, right? We actually bailed some companies and let other companies fail. Banks, same thing. We're going to save these banks, but not these banks. Like, that is crazy, man. So what you end up doing is enriching the wealthy people and further impoverishing the poor people. We've all seen it play out. Like, it happens over and over and over. So you've got to set rules that allow people to be economically mobile up and down. People have got to be able to lose. If people can't lose, then you get a caste system, and that's where we are now. So I think that of my options, the current administration is slightly better, but it really is, it's a better form of abuse, but it's still fucking abuse.
Yeah. It seems like I get what we're supposed to do, but it just seems like we're too far gone at this
Yes, almost certainly.
So it's not no longer a question of if, it's just a question of when and
Correct.
how prepared you could be for the when.
Like, so please understand, I really hate the way that Bitcoiners will say, Tom, what's the problem? Bitcoin is a life raft. Just exit the abusive system into this better system. And they are correct. But the reason I hate that is that most people won't do that because they don't understand it. Whatever the default system is the one that I will judge as being moral or immoral. And the default system, the way that you have to pay your taxes right now is US dollars. And US dollars are being manipulated to the disadvantage of anyone who doesn't own assets. Mm-hmm. You are being knowingly stolen from, but they use words that don't make it feel like that. And so, yeah, I always end my deep dives with the equivalent of, here are your life rafts. Because at the end of the day, none of us can control what happens at the level of society, but we can control what we do individually. But I really am distressed as a person. Mm-hmm. I'm just distressed that the system is just going to break. And some people will be just fine because they will have long ago jettisoned themselves from the abusive system. But it's still rough to like sit back and watch. Like, it is cold comfort to me that 70% of Americans during the Great Depression still had a job. When 30% of Americans don't, and they're like really like out on the streets, just doesn't feel good. So anyway, I don't see a way around it. I'm not delusional enough to think that I can change everybody's mind.
But if we went the full austerity route, there would be that 30% number would be directionally correct. Because think about it. Okay, we slash entitlements, we cut military spending in half. We have a budget that instead of being 1.5 trillion over budget, we are now 2 trillion under budget. And we just knock that debt down in like 6-7 years. We cut it in half. It's awesome. But those 6-7 years, those entitlements reformed, cutting the military spending, there's going to be some old retired pensions that are going to be impacted. There's some kids that are just in the military just so they can get a charger and not have to pay house. Like, there's a lot of people that will get impacted, right? Some will go into the private sector and that'll be awesome, but there would be that 30% kind of on the streets thing. Is that...
You ready for the really bad news?
Yeah.
I can't believe that people don't talk about this. Official unemployment raised like 4%. There's 8% of prime working age people that have just ejected out of the job market. They're not even counted. Mm-hmm. So your real number is like 12%. 12%. Bro, that's almost halfway. And we're just like, we're going to UBI them. Fuck that. That's how you bankrupt the country. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, motherfucker, get to work. Get to work. This is where I'm just like dead shark eyes. I've got exactly zero empathy for somebody who's able-bodied and is just like, I don't want to work. Yeah, go work. Go pick strawberries. Go mow lawns. Go whatever. Like, get a job. So people will not do that until they are pressured to do that. Because if they can get free money, they will get free money.
They'll get free money.
And so it's like, what? So yeah, you have to balance a budget. And if that means that we've got to stop a whole lot of entitlements, we have to stop a whole lot of entitlements. If we keep in mind, who gets hurt by all of that? The very people that they're saying they're helping. The middle class just gets wiped out. So if you're in the middle class and you're like, oh, I'd rather be poor and not have to work, then I'm going to lose.
But to be eligible for benefits, you're not in the middle class. You're in the poor class.
Correct. So people are intentionally making themselves poor so that they qualify for the free shit. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that's parasitic. What are you doing? Mm-hmm. You've got a kid that you're letting live in the basement. So Lisa and I briefly were looking at getting into housing. Thankfully, I could tell something bad was about to happen with the housing market, and we got out in like 2007, right before it all went bust. Mm-hmm. But anyway, during that time, we were looking at houses. And there was a house we went to where there was a woman who was stuck on her couch. She was like $650 at least. And I'd never seen it in person. And I was like, God damn, there were cockroaches. When I say everywhere, you think everywhere. And I was like, if she can't get up, how does she stay that fat? Now imagine that thought bubble, like above my head. And in walks a kid and hands her a popsicle. And I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding. There's no obese people on the Serengeti because you get eaten or you starve to death. So you stay lean enough to fucking move around. But if you've got people that will bring you the popsicle, you can get to 650 pounds. I'm just saying, stop with that. Don't enable. That is crazy. That's abusive. Like, that's abusive. You can't do that. Like, that kid is mean-spirited. That kid is like, fuck you, bitch. You're going to stay on the couch. Here's a popsicle, because she's a drug addict. And so he's just bringing her the drugs. That's wild. I would think ill of you if you were like, bro, can we wrap early today? I got to get the heroin to my mom. Be like, oh, what? Bro, you can't go take heroin to your mom. What are you doing? So that's how I read that situation. So anyway, we are going to bankrupt the country, allowing people to like do nothing. That's crazy. You can't do that.
I never wanted to prompt something in AI so much by right now of like, imagine this for a second. We go into housing and it's just like a cartoon version of Tom and Lisa going to a house, and then they go and then rat calculus like that's a, wow.
Yeah.
Animated short playing out.
That's what I mean. Like I was literally like directing it in my head. Like, yo, that would be visually hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Terrifying is more like it, but yes.
Yes. Is that the broader problem with society? That's mouse utopia, right?
It's
like,
one of the problems with society. It's not
I'm not saying obesity, but just the fact that we have gotten to a point that we know we're going to get taken care of, whether it's the kid with the popsicle, or if I stay below this income level, I'm going to get a WIC check, or if we know that these things are coming.
Yes.
We don't have to then do the thing.
Correct. Correct. This is why. So I was once asked by a mother, and she was like, look, my kid is really stalling out. He's not pushing himself. He's a bright kid, but he's not doing anything with his life. And she was like, help me. This was like peak motivation, Tom. And I'm like, huh. And so I always just run through what are the physics of the situation. And I said, I'll give you an answer, but you're not going to be willing to do it. She's like, no, I'll do it for sure. I was like, okay, here you go. Ready? Find the 7 or 8 people that he respects the most that represent who you want him to be. Have them kidnap him, take him to a desert island, and then stay there for 6 months. He will work to earn their respect, period. And if earning their respect means getting in shape, working hard, like taking responsibility for himself, like going and doing his thing, he will be unrecognizable in 6 months. But it's got to be people for whom he wants their respect. And they have to be people that are worthy of respect. This can't be a bunch of lowlifes. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that won't work most of the time. That will work 100% of the time. But it's so onerous, no one's ever going to do it. The people are never going to take that kid out into a desert island because they're not going to spend their fucking time out there. But if you want to get tough, then go hang out with David Goggins for a year. You will come back the hardest motherfucker ever. Because if you want his respect, you're going to find you've got gears you did not realize you had. Because he's just not going to put up with that shit. Mm-hmm. He will have an expectation, and you either live up to it or you don't. And this is why single parent households become such a problem. Dads by default tend to be the one that like bears the standard. Mothers want to make sure that you're happy and loved. You need both. Both of those are insanely valuable. I love that my mom made me believe that I could do anything. God bless you, Mom. I love you so much. You have no idea. She was exactly what I needed. I could get emotional if I let myself. But I also needed to be told, hey, like, you need to get off your ass and get to work. And I'm not going to put up with this bullshit. And we build character in this house. And that's what it means to be a Bilyeu. And so get fucking to it. Mm-hmm. Simple as. If I only have one, problem. If nobody's loving me and telling me that I can be whatever I want to be, problem. But if nobody's like, hey, you want to be who you want to be, you're going to have to work. And you're going to have to work beyond what you want to do. You're going to have to outwork other people. This is a competition. And so you have to go get good. There's no way around it. This is something I tell entrepreneurs all the time. There are certain problems that we're going to get to, and I can't make them go away for you. I can help you learn how to think through this problem, that problem, whatever. But eventually, you're going to hit an issue where the only answer is go do something awesome. And if you're incapable of doing something awesome, your business is done. And I can't make that problem go away for you. So America's in a position where there's certain problems I can't make go away for you. Money has physics. Mm-hmm. I can't just give you a bunch of free shit. It doesn't work like that. There's not enough billionaire dollars on planet Earth to just keep funding that, where we've got more and more people on some form of assistance. It's something like, what was the number? How many people are on assistance full stop in America? It's a lot. And so it's like, yeah, can't have it.
How many people are on assistance? It seems like your conversation though is about environment. It's not necessarily about the kid. The thing is just you want to be in an environment that fosters good outcomes, or like they get motivated by it. Because I'm going back to the mom and the kid in the basement thing. Like, yes, getting kidnapped in a desert island is a perfect world scenario, but practically there probably is a mom in the chat who does have a kid who's a little bit too much in the basement. Is it you need to just drop them off in the Serengeti? You need to kick them out? What's the thing that they're missing, or is it just they need to be in a better environment? What was the thesis?
Environment is massive. Yeah. So the thesis is a study came out recently that said that parents have a massive impact on their kids up to like 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. And then it diminishes greatly until they're like 11 or 12. And then after that, a parent's influence on their kids is effectively 0. Sheesh. Because the kids,
she's 14. I'm cooked.
Yes, this is the 11 to 15. The reason that I focus on that from Project Kaizen perspective is 11 to 15 is what's known as the age of imprinting. It's where a kid, they don't realize why they're doing it, but they are programmed to push away from their parents and drink from culture. Mm-hmm. And so that's where it's like the friends and the general culture that they're in become a far bigger influence. This is why generations are different, because you're not influenced by your parents. If you were, then every generation would be the same. You're influenced by your parents when you're really young, but after that, it's about what environment are you growing up in. You're going to talk like your friends talk. You're going to care about the things your friends care about. You're not going to care about the things your parents care about. And so at that point, it's like, well, if they're in a toxic environment, then they're going to do toxic shit, gang culture, right? That's, hey, you're trying to earn their respect. And so you will literally sell drugs, beat people up, murder, whatever, but you're trying to earn your peers' respect. And so if you just go, oh, that's how the human mind works, got it. I'm going to find people whose respect they want to earn that are worthy of respect based on my value system, and I'm going to plug them in. And as long as they either can't get away from them, because you will, no matter what group I put you in, if you are isolated, you are going to try to earn that group's respect. If you've got options, then it gets a lot harder because you're going to pick the group that you want to earn their respect. But you've got to find people that are worthwhile, that this person wants to earn their respect. And then the architecture of the human mind will take over. You don't have to do anything else. They will just want to be like that person. And so they will start doing the things that that person does. And if those things are positive, then cool. They're going to do positive things and it's going to be great. But if they're around people that are doing dumb shit, then getting status in that group is going to be doing that dumb shit. And now here's like to really drive this home with boys. Mm-hmm. Do you know what testosterone actually makes you do? People think it makes you more aggressive. It doesn't. What it makes you do is aggressively pursue whatever is high status. So if you think of testosterone as the status-seeking hormone, then things are going to make sense. So if petting puppies the most is the highest status thing that you can do, then high testosterone will make you pet the most puppies. I'm not kidding. If being aggressive is the thing, then you will be aggressive. But it's actually about seeking status. So now, if your kid gets status for how long can I milk mom and dad for money and stay in the basement, then that's going to be the thing that they do. If status is like go out, crush it, like win in the markets, win in business, whatever, then that's what they're going to do. And these games end up being pretty regional in that it's who are the people that you're surrounded with. So you could be the most goth ever. You could be the best trader on Wall Street. You could be in sports, whatever. It's your group, that intimate group. What do they care about?
That's interesting. I didn't know that it was a status thing, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, yeah, aggression, usually you're a bunch of bros who are in the gym, working out, playing sports. You have to be aggressive, that gets it. Or it's about girls, and then you're a bunch of dudes who want to get girls. So that's interesting how those things line up.
Yup.
Maybe we need to put them around a bunch of a place where emotional maturity is the status game, and then testosterone make them all a bunch of emotional.
I mean, look, good luck with that one. But this is why. So because men pursue women so relentlessly, at least historically, and women cared about access to resources, this is why guys try to get rich. So you break that, which I think we have effectively done, and you start getting into weird territory where people don't celebrate building, creating, growing, succeeding. It's like, that's not the game. Like you're a try hard or like, it's cringe or whatever to sincerely pursue a goal. That's crazy. That is a sign of a sick society that's going to be replaced.
Somebody said eventually you're going to start suggesting corporate work camps like they have in China. That forces people to work. Why did you smile? It's like, it's not a bad idea.
No, I smiled because That's the moment that we're living in right now, where people are suspicious of ambition, aggression, drive, and of all the things with my value system that people should not be suspicious of. I think I said this on camera many times, but I'll say it once more. The statement that most accurately captures what the human experience is really like is that the strong will do as they will and the weak will suffer as they must. So yeah, go ahead, go be weak, whatever, fuck, I don't care. Like I don't have to suffer the consequences of your life, and you don't have to work as hard as I work, but there are physics to this, and people that like right now, the vast majority of humanity, remember 10% of America owns 93% of the assets. You are getting bullied by people that understand the market, fucking bullied. And they are getting all the money to everything that they want because they understand the system. They are aggressive, they are smart, they educate the shit out of themselves, they take big risks, they go in, they do the damn thing. And they will bend politicians to their will and all of that. And you will get your money inflated to fucking zero because you're afraid to stand up and be aggressive. You're afraid to say, yeah, I want to get good. Yes, I'm going to fucking grind. And yes, while my friends are out in their 20s getting drunk and all that shit, nope, not me. I am working. I am trying to master something. I understand that skills have utility and they let me do something in the world that other people can't do. And oh, P.S., by the way, the world is a fucking competition. And I get that some people do not want that to be true, but that is true. And look at Ukraine. I bet they believe that life is a competition. Look at China. China felt that they had a century of humiliation. They said, nope, not anymore. We're going to compete. And they went from an absolute economic backwater that was starving the vast, like tens of millions of people to death, to being the most dominant economy and military on earth. And now America's having to contend with that. Life is a competition. And it is only from within the protective walls of a country like America that people can confuse themselves into thinking that it's not.
We have a little bit of pushback I got to throw out there. This is from Martin Muldone 8166. There are many people that work 2 jobs and are barely getting by. Afraid, give me a break.
Is this his first day here?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I'm very grateful. I'm not going to get cheeky. I'm very grateful for you being here, and I'm very grateful for you challenging ideas. I love that. I think that's smart, very strong. I consider myself a wild, aggressive advocate who is trying to answer the question, why do you have to work 2 jobs? You may not be part of the problem. I was addressing something in someone else when I said what I was saying. The reason you have to work 2 jobs, it could be multivariate. I don't know you. But here is a very common one, that because of globalism, people have been unable to negotiate their wages for 40 years. When you have a situation where people can and do just go, oh, you're too expensive, cool. I'm either going to import cheap labor or I'm going to export the job to cheap labor. It puts the working class in a very difficult position. And so to make ends meet, you end up having to take 2 jobs. So I'm not saying that universally people are lazy. I'm just saying directionally, we are creating an incentive system where being lazy is rewarding. And so show me the incentives, I will show you the outcome. More and more people are going to get lazy because that's what the incentives are. Also, culturally, I would be very surprised if you would not agree with me that culturally, it is acknowledged in young people that it's a bit cringe to be very goal-directed, to really pursue something. Hustle culture went from being like, yeah, that's awesome. Like people are really grinding. They're really trying to do something to like, oh, bro, that's gross. So if you read something different in culture, I'd love to see the data that you're looking at, but all the data that I see points in the direction of more and more people, not that everyone is doing it, but that more and more people are going for the easy answer, that culturally we do not celebrate the successful. Culturally, we do not celebrate the driven. We think of it as pathology. We think of it as something to avoid, that we all want fewer hours worked, that we want less engagement with our careers. That's my read.
John Billy, during the last 50 years, there was no AI dummy. It's apples to oranges.
There was no AI. I'm not sure what he's trying to get at there.
So you can't just work hard to get ahead because AI is not going to kill it anyway.
Oh, so that's somebody who is looking at the future and saying something bad might happen in the future, therefore I'm going to stop today. That's a mistake. So I get it. I am constantly paranoid about where AI is going to be. I have a belief that on a long enough timeline, the problem that we're all going to have to deal with is meaning and purpose. But today is not that day. So today you can still get ahead by mastering AI. So my advice to people would be, instead of throwing up your hands and saying 5 or 10 years from now, this is going to hand me my ass, just be the last man standing that is so good with AI that you can do things that other people can't do. Now, one day I may completely change my pitch and be like, hey, the state of AI, the only thing that makes sense now is, and then insert whatever answer actually makes sense in that moment. But right now, today, there is still a game to be played and won, and AI is a tremendous tool. It's incredible what it lets you do. I get that there is a fear that people can feel looming in the background, but I would not give in to that.
So I said slaves never burnt out. You'll be okay. That's crazy.
See, but this is what I'm saying, right? Now, I'm not watching the chat to know if that's like a minor voice or if that's like a 30% voice. But that is in culture. I know that when I first started 10 years ago on camera, there was still a big voice of people that were like, yo, I love it. Like, this guy's so hardcore. This is awesome. And then slowly over time, the voice of like, oh, this is so gross. This is so cringe. Like, this guy's just hustle culture. Like, oh, it's disgusting. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wait, what? Cultures change.
Cultures change. All right. We got some super chats.
We do. First up from Mr. B. Shaw.
Super chat.
Rethink the debt tool. Physics defines what we can do. Everything else is just man-made. Caged equity is the primer for the book I told you about last week. Uses interest as a wealth-building tool. Let me know if you need that one again. It's a little...
Yeah. Can you put it up on screen so I can read it for myself?
I think they got that one.
Okay. Rethink the debt tool. I don't know what they mean by that. Physics defines what we can do. Yep. Everything else is just man-made. Okay. Fair enough. Caged equity is the primer for the book I told you about last week. Uses interest as a wealth building tool. Yeah. All of that on the surface seems to make sense, but I don't know what you mean by rethink the debt tool. So debt is incredibly powerful. It just becomes a problem when you take on too much. So I am very aware of debt being nearly magical. It's just that people tend to abuse it. And that's where we're at. We're in the part of the cycle where debt stopped being magical a very long time ago, and it is now incredibly problematic. Or I should say that at the government level, we've taken on so much debt. It's not magical anymore. It's wildly problematic. But at the individual level, of course, it still remains insanely powerful. Interest, compounding interest, as I think it was Einstein that said the greatest force in the universe is compounding interest. So yeah, totally agree.
What they might be saying is like, can we rethink how debt works? Because like from physics, debt is a thing that we made up. So can we rethink it?
Yeah, all the problems are man-made. So if that's what he's saying, we totally agree.
Yeah.
All the problems are man-made. The problem is the human mind works in a certain way, and we've had thousands of years to see, will it play out differently this time? And it never does. So humans, once taken en masse, are a certain way. And so fighting against that strikes me as futile. You nudge as much as you can because humans are malleable. And so you can like move people in a direction. And people in the community have been extremely kind to remind me that I am not actually speaking into a void. So I'm very grateful for that. So we can, even if this is a purely deterministic universe and we have no willpower, people still do respond to ideas. And so being a vessel for ideas, hopefully highly useful ones, is a perfectly serviceable existence from where I'm sitting.
Cool. Next one from World Rally Family. I appreciate that you started asking the right questions and went down that rabbit hole. The discussions we're having here are very important, and the deep dives are making a difference.
Wow. Thank you. World Rally Family. I appreciate that very much. I really do hold on to comments like that, especially when I'm writing a deep dive and think, man, these take a long time. So thank you. That means a lot. And that you would spend money to say something like that is very meaningful.
And that's all the super chats we got.
Nice. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats.
Yeah, no joke. Thank you, guys.
We appreciate your
support,
generosity, support.
Yeah.
Thank you for those that are just being in the chat. Thank you for all the people that argument. Some dude roasted me earlier in the chat. He was like, speaking of dates, when's prom, Drew? And I'm just like,
oh, that's rough.
That was a good one, though.
But have you reached back out to her?
You got me. Yeah, we talked.
That's it? That's what we get?
Yes. Nothing yet.
Channel your inner Candace, man. Like, you got to give us like
this setup. Okay, let me
teasing.
tell you, this is the breakdown.
Not happening.
Because low key, I feel like the show was bad luck. Because I've been excited about 2 people on the show, and I say something on air a week later, gone.
Interesting. That is, I have to admit, that's tough. Like when you know, like, oh God, like there's going to be that additional layer of scrutiny. I feel you. I feel you.
Okay, I want to bring up the Game Awards last night. The Game Awards just happened, and Claire Obscur Exhibition 33 set a new record. I think they won 7 awards, if I count that right. From Best Performance, Best Overall Game, Best Game Direction, Game of the Year. Like, they pretty much swiped the Best Indie Game Debut. The Performer won Best Performance. Have you played?
I have.
Yeah. Is it the best game of the year?
It's very good. Would I give it best game of the year? I wouldn't, but I get why people, the game that I would probably give it to, I get why people would be like, no way. Which is a more obscure indie title, but it's just really gotten under my skin. If people have ever heard of a game called Mega Bonk, that game for me, and maybe because I just haven't encountered as many games like that, but it's like basically a roguelike, but with like this really fun RNG to it and like a really old like school aesthetic, but I just really find it enjoyable. Claire Obscur was good, very good, but the acting was insane. That I was very impressed with. But it was like once I got the gimmick, which is like the timing, I was like, oh, this is going to be a game where I just learn the timing and that's it. Run to next boss, rhythm, next boss, rhythm, next boss, rhythm. So while I can recognize and appreciate why people are super into it, and it's certainly a worthy game because it is done very well, it's very slick, wouldn't make it's not my choice. If you just look at how much I play other games, that one's not in heavy rotation.
Got it. And lastly, Moist Critical was the game content creator of the year. So shout out to Moist Critical.
That guy gets views.
Yeah, he began
views. But he falls into that millennial creator for me where there's a lot of anger that makes me just a little bit sad about millennial gamers. And I wish I could convince them to have more fun. I don't think they'll recognize themselves though in the way that I see them. So probably futile, but I forget who we were having this conversation with, but I was, at the Christmas party. And I was like, look, I've lived through way more of these like game transitions than a millennial gamer, but I don't have any of that same frustration and anger. I'm just like, oh, cool. Indie titles are where it's at now. It's not the AAA games are like they're wasting everybody's time. They cost so much money. They're not innovating, but the indie games are. So there's a sense that people feel betrayed, I guess, by the IP because they love the IP so much. And so maybe this is just whatever you loved when you were 12. Like if that gets betrayed, you just are always going to have a hard time with it. And because the games that were big when I was 12 were like Mario Brothers, I feel very differently. It really may just be that simple. But for me, the energy shifting away from, let's say, film to TV and video games, like even though I was a film guy growing up, I didn't feel betrayed as movies fell apart. I was just like, oh, the energy is now in gaming. Cool. So I moved to gaming. Now within gaming, the energy is not with AAA anymore. It's with the indie titles. Great. First of all, as an indie developer, I love that. So I can build an internal model of people that are mad, but I can't internalize it. So I don't feel it. So I'm always, when I watch Moist Critical, he's very good. He's very entertaining, but he's also often very angry. And so that just always hits weird for me.
Got it. All right. The conspiracy theories are true. Instacart is using dynamic pricing. I've been saying this for a minute. DoorDash, Uber Eats, all those, there's different prices on the apps. And when you actually go into the store, a lot of them, they bake in their margins into the price. So double check that. But yes, they are accessing personal data of users and then just adjusting prices based on that data. If someone can afford to pay more for items, the prices increase. You may have heard of dynamic pricing. Well, now Instacart is accused of using this controversial practice to charge customers wildly inconsistent prices on the same products. This is infuriating. Food delivery service Instacart is being accused of charge. Okay, he's repeating himself. Yes, it can lead to shoppers being charged an extra $1,200 on groceries annually. Nearly 3/4 of grocery items it surveyed were sold at different price points.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, I felt like this is Uber does surge pricing. That's dynamic pricing.
But hold on. Yeah. So there's two ways to do this. Mm-hmm. There's the way that Amazon does it, where it's like, we are adjusting prices by the minute. And so like when we used to sell way back in the day to Awareness Technologies, we had a product that we were selling on Amazon. And so I had a meeting with Amazon and they were like actual assholes about like, we're like, guys, we can't have the channel conflict. I need to know that the price is going to be, you know, within these bounded ranges. They're like, nope. If you want to sell on Amazon, we are going to do what we are going to do. And there's going to be a way bigger price fluctuation. And that was really obnoxious. Yeah. And they had like the arrogance of knowing just how big they were anyway. So you've got that where they can adjust prices, but it's for everybody. Now, if Instacart wants to say across the entire app, no matter who you are, this is the price, but it changes very rapidly. Okay, cool. No worries. But if they're going to go, Drew, I can tell by your spending habits, you just got a bump. Great. We're going to charge you more. That's fucking sinister. Yeah. Dude, that is sinister. So you want to say, hey, here's another thing that adds to people not being able to make ends meet. The second that they see that your willingness to spend more is there, they're just going to keep charging you more. Now it's like, dude, you literally can't get ahead because the companies are using dynamic pricing to get the same percentage of your money as they've been getting before. That they've got to put consumer price protections. That's insane. Now, being able to dynamically fluctuate across the entire app so that people are like, we're all being treated the same. Sometimes the prices are up, sometimes they're down. Yeah, that I get. That's just like the fact that the world now lets you reprice things that quickly is great. So people can take advantage of like, okay, either knowing when a price, like something happens to the price of oil. And so now instead of people getting like just having to eat it, it's like, oh, we can like make all these micro adjustments in the price. And so everything sort of stays balanced and we spread out the pain and suffering. But when you just go, ooh, I know how much you can afford and I'm going to keep bilking you, that's wild. Like that. Yeah, that's bad.
Michelle Quinton in chat said, no, but seriously, I built a cart of things I needed from the store on the app, but I decided to physically shop. I spent $70 less and got the exact list. Sheesh. Well,
yeah, but you're just saying I'm willing to go into the store. Cool. If people are willing to pay extra to not have to deal with that, I love it. I love that that's available. But it is evil, quite frankly, to go, I bet you can afford more. Instead of just saying these things cost this much, these things are more expensive. And so now I'm like Erewhon, right? They've got like this raspberry was individually grown by a nun in Guatemala. And it's like, it's got a name and a birth certificate. And so you can buy each individual raspberry, like knowing who grew it. Great. If that's your shtick and you want to do that, as rich as I am, I think Erewhon is insane. I cannot believe that people do the majority of their shopping there. That's crazy. But hey, that it is an option. Love it. But you walking in and people like looking at your jeans and your shirt and being like, okay. And then the prices show up differently for you. That is bad.
Some people are surprised by the pearl clutching. I've heard.
Really?
Sinister? You mean capitalism? Somebody else was like, this is capitalism at its finest. So break that down. Cause some people are like, yeah, I don't get it. What do you mean? Isn't this supply and demand? Isn't this what you're always talking about, Tom?
That's amazing. Okay. So remember, I'm not a no government guy. I have a North Star. My North Star is a thriving middle class. So now it's like, okay, what are the things that we want to do? So a company the government should be pretty hands-off. So company can charge whatever they want. If you want to offer really expensive things, do it. But if you want to deceive the public, that's not good. And if you want to individually price things for that person, I hope everybody can understand that at a minimum, they should have to disclose it so that you can decide like, yeah, I'm not going to participate that's really stupid. So consumer protections exist for a reason. You want light touch regulation. You don't want to over regulate. It's a bit like debt. A little bit of regulation goes a long way because humans will take advantage of you. They will, like if you don't have any regulations, they will just Bernie Madoff you to death. And so we know that humans will expand into amoral activities until they are forcibly stopped. So we do have to put those checks. Great. You put the checks, you keep them as light as you can. You certainly don't want, for instance, you don't want antitrust stuff. You don't want somebody to be able to monopolize an industry, because then they can do grotesque practices like this and there's nowhere to go to get beyond them. So you just don't want to overregulate. So a little bit of debt, great. A lot of debt, problem. A little bit of regulation, great. A lot of regulation, problem. So, but I mean, I don't know if people think I'm like an avatar for them for capitalism or something. I think capitalism's far better than what we have now, but I think unchecked capitalism will become a problem real fast.
Somebody said, when you say regulations mean like price controls, what should they actually be doing? Because this is the innovations of AI, right? Like AI is allowing us to get the data that fast and process it at a pace that we never had
yes,
before.
And so that's great from all things moving up and down in unison for everyone. I love that. That's great. It's a great invention that will allow people to protect margins, that will allow people to look for, the price of oil went down, and now a company is going to go, instead of like a grocery store might go, the cost of oil just went down. So instead of me getting additional margin, what I'm going to do is get additional customers. And so I'm going to lower my rates. And so now everybody's competing with each other to charge the least amount that they can to draw people into their stores. And everybody understands, these guys are competing on price. Now the consumer wins. If, on the other hand, we just let people use technology however they want, they will eventually become exploitative. And so you want some sort of bounding box where it's like, hey, use AI as much as you want in terms of controlling your prices. However, here's the regulation. You can't treat people differently. So you've got to set one price that applies to everybody. Now you can change that price as rapidly as you want, but it has to apply equally to everybody. Great. No problem. But let me make it easy for people. Let's say that at my store, if you come in and you're Chinese, I'm charging you double. We cool? We good? I hope not. That's shitty. So I get why we would say, hey, can't do that. But you can do if I want to raise the price from 1 minute to the next, that I can do that. But it is blanket. It affects everybody.
Got it. Okay.
So you talked about the thriving middle class being the North Star, and somebody in chat said, what's the KPI to measure a thriving middle class?
Okay, so I think that there is a small basket of things that you want to care about. So your, let's say, cost ratio to buy a house, that's going to be one of them. Why cost ratio to buy a house today? Because it's the only asset that people understand intuitively that will protect them from inflation. So it's
ratio
like letting them
against
wear
wages.
What's that?
Ratio against wages.
Yeah. So let's say that back in the 80s, it was 3x the median income to buy a home. Now it's like 5.5x. So it's like, okay, that's bad. So that's going to be one of them. Again, for the reasons that I just said, it's economic armor against inflation. Now, if we had sound currency, I might give you something totally different. The ability to make more money over time, that's going to be another one. The raw number of people in the middle class, the discrepancy between the wealthiest people and the middle class. Like, you're just going to be looking social mobility, right? So that somebody can escape the middle class and get wealthy, but they can also fall back down. They can go from the middle class to poor. They can go from poor to middle class. Like it's going to be a small basket of things like that. Period.
Sweet.
Word.
Okay, this is kind of messy, but I'm into it. Democrats just dropped a batch of photos, 95,000 photos in total, received from the Epstein estate. And some of our favorite people are on there. Donald Trump.
Who's that? So this is presumably Epstein victim?
Yeah, the victims are black.
Or are they blocking her out to make it seem bad?
I'm assuming the blacked outs are the victims, because that's why it seems like all the women's faces are blacked out and only the men are being shown.
I'd be very interested to know. So this is, okay, that one's not great. When a picture speaks a gazillion words, yeah.
The Woody Allen story is crazy, though.
Is the craziest.
That's
and
wild.
How he managed to escape scrutiny for as long as he did is wowza.
Like, that's a different. But yes, so this is fresh news. I just got it on Twitter. Somebody liked it over to me. So they're dropping the pictures now. I'm trying to see if I find something that's actually meaningful, but this seems like just another gotcha / distraction for these files that we're never going to get, even though Trump.
Yeah, the part, and I mean, I know I say this every time this comes up, but the question is, did Trump do something illegal with women because we know that Trump is horrific with women. Horrific. So that was not the gotcha. The gotcha to me, or I thought he was unelectable because of his history with women. I was like, I remember telling the team because they were freaking out when the election night back in 2016, when it looked like, he was doing better than people thought. I was like, guys, go home and relax. This man was caught on tape saying, grab him in the hoo-ha. I was like, he's unelectable. There's no universe. Well, apparently there's at least one timeline where it's possible. So yeah, I'm certain that that's not going to be how you get Donald Trump. But if he were doing something illegal, now we need to go ham. So if it's underage women or whatever, like, yeah, if he was trafficking, obviously, man's got to go down. But if it's just more, hey, guess what? Trump was a horrifying womanizer. That clearly didn't stop people.
Yeah. Okay, I'm back to our regularly scheduled programming. That was a nice little fractal. I was like, oh, they released photos. It's going to be something damning. And it's just Trump doing this a bunch of times and licking his lips at girls. All right, the U.S. Senate just rejected a Republican-proposed solution for Obamacare. I feel like that's it wasn't really a solution, but we'll get to that. This would have given money directly to the American people in HSA accounts as opposed to giving it directly to big insurance companies. The bill was backed by Trump. It was defeated 51-48, and there were a couple of Republicans that actually voted on the Democrat side, and it did not get passed. Remember, they need 60 votes to get over the hump.
Why did you think this wasn't a solution? I'm very curious.
Because they were proposing giving $1,200 deposited into HSA accounts when the subsidies would have reduced insurance premiums from doubling. So throwing an extra $1,200 on top to me is just adding, like, you could get a student loan and a student loan grant. Like, yes, so now it's $1,200 less than I would have to pay, but you're just giving us less money for a problem that needs to be fixed as opposed to fixing the problem.
It's interesting. Here's how I look at this. For the same reason that parents should have school vouchers and be able to take their tax dollars to whatever school they want so that the schools have to compete on educational outcomes, you should want people to be able to go to whatever insurance company they think is the right one for them so that they're not in a situation where the insurance company's stocks have like tripled, quintupled since the Obamacare Act. That tells you where the economics are going. The economics are going to the healthcare companies. We want to empower people so the healthcare companies have to compete on price and product. And right now they don't. So somehow, some way, and this felt like certainly directionally, at least the right answer. Somehow, some way, we have to figure out how to make the companies compete. And right now, when the government's just like paying everything, you get into the weird system that we have now where it's like, hey, you guys sent me a bill for $800, but then when I sent in my insurance, you raised it to $1,600. What gives? Oh, yeah, the $800 is the price for people without insurance. Okay, but when I have insurance, now it becomes more expensive for me? Yes, that's correct. So wait, if I just don't claim it off my insurance, can I get the reduced price? No, you can't, because now we know you have insurance. That's real. So that's so crazy. We shouldn't be standing for that. This is exactly how people get raked across the coals, and health insurance becomes like a grotesque monopoly. A cartel is probably a better way to think of it. And we're there. Like, we have to do something.
Absolutely. But that's the thing. This doesn't solve the monopoly problem. This doesn't solve the choice problem. This doesn't solve
Wait. Why doesn't it solve the choice problem?
Because there's two insurance companies in California. You either have United or you have Kaiser. So whether the insurance that I have available to me right now is in two buckets. I can either pay more and get a higher premium, or I could pay less and get a smaller premium.
But if I know,
it's not a different bucket of
but if I know
options.
now, I don't have to negotiate with the government. I have to negotiate with the individual. I, as an entrepreneur, go, ooh, there's an opportunity here. So a big part of the reason that people won't try to build alternative healthcare programs, insurance companies, whatever, is that it's so monopolistic. To even break in is going to be insane. And so this is where it's like, oh, I don't have to convince the PBM or whatever they're called. I have to go and talk to the individual and say, you just got your $1,200 check. Trust me, you want to spend it with us. And so now we start getting people actually competing. We get entrepreneurs innovating. But when the money is tied to the government, now it's like the worst crony capitalism ever. It's going to be whoever's closest to the spigot. Like, you're never going to get checked.
I feel like I get the intention behind that, as opposed to it comparing it to school choice is a little bit different, because school choice is me as a parent saying I can go to this school, this school, this school. But even insurance in general, you have to be a part of a system to then get into the door.
I hear you, and it is scary, but let me
not even scary. It's not possible, because
no, it is possible, because what ends up happening, like, look at school choice. What will happen is you'll get a bunch of charter schools that right now there are entrepreneurs sitting on the sidelines because parents, it's too hard. You've got to go in and figure out, okay, what kind of system are we going to use to try to get these kids? And if parents are like, I can go wherever the fuck I want, you'll get all kinds of schools that pop up.
But with schools, you can do that. Yeah. Now you just need the money so that way they can afford to go to the schools they want. But you can change your school district right now. Lynn goes to a school 30 minutes from her house because it's a better school. So,
but you're not able to take your dollars there. So what are you doing? Are you giving a different address? Are you paying for it? Like,
no, that's the thing. They're like in Arizona, it's a red state. They allow school movement. So
but
they're not paying for the bus, but they're paying for the transaction.
Amazing.
And it's not a private. And it's not a private school, so that's there. But what I'm saying is specifically for insurance.
But wait, what part of the analogy doesn't work? Because my argument is very simply that if the parents control the money, that entrepreneurs will enter the space.
Yeah.
If they don't, then you will get a dearth of that.
With HSA accounts, one, it doesn't get directly into your pocket. It goes into a separate healthcare account. The healthcare account are tied oftentimes to health insurance companies themselves. That's the first layer. There's insurance options that allow HSAs, and insurance options that don't allow HSAs.
All right, I'll have to look at it. I don't have enough data.
So it's one of those things.
It's concede temporary defeat only out of ignorance.
It's just because you can't go to a hospital and say, hey, I want to pay out of pocket. If that was the case, then that would make sense. But everything you would do through a hospital, you blow through that $1,200 in 5 days.
And so you think we're better off leaving that inside of the system that we know as, my words, corrupt, horrific, and bad for people?
No, the subsidies haven't been approved yet. So it's not like them saying no to this made the subsidies get passed. These subsidies are officially gone. Big Beautiful Bill is not bringing them back. This was just a stopgap. They're saying, okay, because your premiums are going from $10,000 to $20,000, we was going to throw in $1,200 on top of that. That $1,200 is not doing nothing for nobody. So let's actually solve the problem. If everybody's premiums got to double and people got to drop off their health insurance and a couple people got to pass, so that way we can get the pressure to actually fix the problem, let's do that. But I just think this was a stopgap that isn't actually going to lead to progress.
This is a big one. It's got to be solved.
I do think Obama was crafty in creating the ACA, because right now it makes more sense for the government, instead of paying half to health insurance companies and then Medicaid, Medicare for the people that are entitlements, it makes sense to merge those. And if you merge those two, that's 75% of the healthcare insurance market. So then single payer is just like one more leap away. So I think that the ACA set the framework to lead to a single payer system, which I understand it's terrible in Europe and all these other places. But I think where America is right now, that probably is the better solution versus deregulating, opening up the floodgates and letting everybody figure it out. Because I think that generation, whether it's 5 years or 30 years, it's going to be too bloody for people to just be like, yeah, but it's going to be so great in 2020 when utopia, they're not looking for that next thing. We couldn't handle 1 million deaths. I don't think we're going to be able to handle the 2-3 million when they bring in pre-existing conditions. People with cancer get kicked off. If your asthma is too bad over a certain age, you get kicked off, and all these people are now out in the cold having to pay cash, and that 10,000 is.
I agree with you from a societal standpoint. We're not going to be able to tolerate it, but let me tell you how many more people die when your country goes bankrupt. So this is one of those that people are like, yeah, but that problem's not for 10 years, and so I don't care. Oh my God, that really drives me crazy. And one of the things that will accelerate the bankruptcy of this country is letting people smoke and be overweight and then still cover their health care. You can't do that.
Is there if we were to approach it first principle, so throughout the whole healthcare system, out the window, we're starting from the very beginning. Is it simply like deregulation? As long as you're not getting injected with a rusty scalpel, go for it. As many health insurance companies, and let competition kind of do its thing.
I mean, you definitely want competition to do its thing, but this is an area where you want regulation. You do not want people again, this is weird how often this comes to my mind, but in Death by Lightning, Garfield dies from infection because the doctor was a moron and didn't believe that germ theory was real. So you want to put regulations in place that are like, here are the standards that are expected to be met to maintain your license as a hospital, so that when somebody is going to a hospital, they know, are you like, do you have the A rating in your window like a restaurant, or like, what am I looking at here? So you definitely want some of that,
a B-rated hospital.
Yeah, because otherwise people are definitely going to lie, spin, whatever. You don't want that. So you want people to know, I can trust it. They've got their license, all is well. But then beyond that, like, here's the calculus that I think people run. Elites say something to themselves like, some people are too stupid, and so we're going to just make the government take care of everything. And then they don't realize how many points of exploitation they create for like the health insurance companies. And so it's like, guys, like, I get the impulse to want to make sure that everybody's taken care of, but you really can't, because you create a vulnerability where the system will be abused. And that's exactly what we have right now. Like, you have people that act as if they can't control a large portion of their health outcomes. I agree that some people just get a raw roll of the dice, and they've never smoked a day in their life, and they're 12 and they get lung cancer. That really does happen, and that is freakish, and I understand that we want a system that's going to deal with that. I love that. But what I don't love is the 650-pound smoker who's like, yeah, keep giving me all my health care because I can have every precondition that I want. Oh, and by the way, keep doing things that we know are absolutely terrible for my health outcomes. And I also hate the government telling you, you can't be fat or smoke. You should be able to be fat and smoke, but you've got to carry the weight of those consequences. I do not want the Chinese government style thing saying, you're not allowed to eat Doritos. It's like, if I want to eat Doritos, I'm going to eat Doritos, but the consequences should be on me.
It's interesting because it's like, entitlements are the thing that we need to figure out one way or another. Like, we have to land that plane. I think we might be too far gone that we might just have to roll insurance into the government. And then
here's the thing, too far gone just means we are going to let this problem roll until we go bankrupt. And I just want to remind everybody, the current rate we're on, that's roughly 10 years. This is not something that's like 50, 75 years out in the future. It's already the second biggest line item that you have for your country. We passed national debt, like, done. I think we just passed Medicaid. So that's interest. That's just interest. So already the fact that we are that far in debt is forcing us to do something incredibly reckless at the Fed, which is lower rates. And so now we're doing something that's going to damage the economy, that's going to continue to make inflation run hot. And we're just like, yeah, but we can't ask people to retire later. Yeah, we can't ask people to accept that your healthcare is going to be more expensive than the next person. We're just not prepared to let them deal with that. And it's like, so we're just saying, yeah, in 10 years, everything breaks, instead of selectively breaking some things now.
Yeah. I don't know. We got to see. Maybe China got to figure it out. Maybe that.
I mean, look, China's solution is terrible. We do not want to do China's solution.
I'm speaking health insurance, like, because I think everybody points to Europe and says Europe at least has health insurance. They pay lower cost, better care. There is a level of, to your point, we do need to, I'm going to use the word tax, but people who are further from the healthy medium should bear a larger cost than those that are closer to that healthy medium. But I still don't think that will balance the budget because of all this baked in minutia, cronyism, consolidations that happened. Because growing up, there was 17 healthcare insurances. So to your point, it's like, if this person says no, this person says no, you know what, F it, I could just go direct and pay out of pocket. But a lot of those other options now have either been consolidated or gone away. It just now makes it more difficult. So that's why I'm like, maybe we do just roll it in, and then now it's one person doing all the work, and then they get the brunt of the basis of it. They get the grunt of the anger and all this other things we have, and everybody else just gets fired and disseminated. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we do not have the appetite to do what needs to be done. And so as of right now, we either grow our way out of this through AI or we run into a brick wall. Those are your options. And so the divide will continue to escalate. By the way, I've been asked so many times, Tom, what would civil war even look like? It would look like it looks now, where you've got states fighting the federal government. You've got people fighting each other in terms of political assassinations and the like. So you just get what we have now, but it escalates. And as we march closer to the breaking point on the debt, it will manifest as that kind of civil conflict. So I don't know what other roadmap people need to believe, oh yeah, this really can get unhinged. This can get completely out of control. It will look like more of what you already have. Like, we're already marching down the path. It's not like you have to come up with some grand understanding of how this all plays out. You get more and more fraud. You get more and more each party fighting for, we've got to get the shrinking piece of the pie. That drives more resentment. You get a wider K-shaped economy. That drives more envy and resentment. You get more people being politically violent. And you get more like rejection of constitutional federal powers between the state and the federal government. We've already got people in the military. I don't even want to use the phrase they use. It just seems like feeding into the politics of it all. But we've got people in Congress telling the military, like, hey, just so you know, it'd be a real shame if we had to prosecute you when we get back into power. And so you should be really deciding whether you want to listen to the elected president of the United States. Like, it's so crazy. Like, this is certainly in my lifetime, that's like unheard of. So we are already moving in that wrong direction. And this is an economic cause. And that's why I'm like, I get it. It's tough. And I get it. Nobody wants to say that, yes, if you're, and this is but one example, if you're obese, you're going to have to pay more. It just is what it is. And yes, we are, in my opinion, far better off putting the money in the individual's hands and letting them force companies to compete for their business than we are the government trying to do all this stuff and creating a European style, which, by the way, if you've been in Europe and seen up close, they're like my family, obviously because they can afford it, but my wife's family, I should say, to be more specific, they all have private insurance. And they use the government one when it's like a easy thing, it's small, and they don't have to wait, they'll use it. But so often it's like, oh, it'll be 4 months, 5 months for you to get like my wisdom tooth hurts. I remember my mother-in-law, oh God, these are directionally correct realities, but not literally correct. She had to have her gallbladder removed. And when I say pain, dude, anybody that's had their gallbladder back up because you're getting stones know how like unbearably painful. And it was like months that she had to wait.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
All right, you got something coming up, right?
We do, everybody. We have got Impact Theory University. We've got something coming up December 16th at 1 p.m. Pacific. If you guys are a founder doing $1 million or more in revenue and you're serious about scaling to 8 figures, I want you guys to join me. Most founders think that they're going to fail because of market conditions or strategy, but in reality, what people fail from is people. It's bad leadership choices. It's poor hires. You ultimately get eaten alive by your competitors because you don't have the right people. You lose to your internal politics. Hidden underperformance is a big one. And the silent churn that can build up if you don't have your culture in the right place, if you're not using the right KPIs, etc. And I'm running a private workshop where I'm going to show you guys how to fix the people problems inside of your company that are going to just absolutely demolish your growth. All right, this is not for everybody though. This one is for founders that are at 1 million plus. But if that's you, click the link in the description or just go to tombilyeu.com/leadership and register for the workshop, which is going to be all about how to hire well, how to run a company well from a leadership perspective. Again, this is Tuesday, December 16th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Hope to see you there. All right, everybody, it's that time. Thank you guys so much. If you haven't already, by the way, subscribe. It helps a lot. Smash that subscribe button. Thank you guys for being here. It's absolutely wonderful. And we will see you guys next weekend.
We do have 1 minute and one super chat.
Oh, let's go. Mason, let's do it.
This last super chat is from Moab Overkill. Would you be willing to interview Joe Lemont from Alpha School? He seems to really want to change education for the better, seems to really care. He also seems very willing to do interviews right now. You may share some goals.
So that's the school from Texas, if I'm not mistaken, that's killing it. I would bring them on a live. I probably wouldn't do an interview just because it's outside of what performs for us, but getting him on a live, if he's easy to schedule, I'd certainly do that.
Sick.
Word?
Noise.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for the super chat. All right, everybody, have a wonderful weekend. We will see you on Wednesday. Later.